And now, introducing out of Perry Hall High School, standing 5 foot 8 inches tall, weighing in at 177 pounds, soaking wet. He's the surveyor of Mr. Mayor, the Asel of Mrs. Maisel, the Ayatollah of Bob Hart's Abishola. He is Glenn Clark.
Good morning. It is, oh man, this is my favorite time of the year. The season's changed, season allergies kick in. Love that. Spent the first 15 minutes this morning clearing out my throat of all the phlegm. That was a really pleasant way. I'm sure you guys wanted to hear about that too. It was a really pleasant way to begin the day. Yeah. But hi, good morning. It's Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Paul. Lots to do, obviously. Lots to talk about. Coming up on the program today, we will chat with Mike Nolan, of course, Ravens radio analyst, former defensive coordinator and NFL head coach. He actually was with Marcus Williams for a little while down in New Orleans. So we'll talk to him about that, the moves the Ravens have made, and what still might be ahead for them. Also coming up, Charles Davis from the NFL Network. We'll talk to him a little bit about free agency, also far more about the NFL draft. What else is coming up this morning? We are going to chat with Antoine White. He is the women's basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's. They won the NEC tournament. They're in the NCAA tournament. They got to play Longwood in the first four tomorrow night. And later on in the program, Drew Forrester, Drew's Morning Dish, will check in with us, play a little Would You Rather Wednesday. Those scenarios for Would You Rather Wednesday, brought to you by Glory Days Grill, are up right now at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. Check them out there and play along. Somebody's going to win a $25 gift card to Glory Days Grill. Know the risks and have a plan before you start gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygambling.org. All right, so much has occurred. God, it's always so pleasant whenever I go through this seasonal effing allergies. Much has occurred since the last time we spoke. And, of course, the last time we spoke, we were lamenting the fact that, hey, the Ravens never do anything on the first day of free agency. And technically that was true. For the first 24 hours, the Ravens did absolutely nothing. And then all of a sudden, they did everything. They did it all. They did it all for the nookie. The nookie. So you could take your cookie. Marcus Williams. Stick that up your yeah. Morgan Moses. Stick that up your yeah. There's not a lot for me to say about either one. Either move in a vacuum I like. I mean, what's not to like? You got a good football player in Marcus Williams that specifically does some things that you need, that you've been lacking in your secondary when it comes to actual playmaking. I think one of the biggest issues the Ravens have dealt with defensively is the lack of creating turnovers, the lack of really big plays. That, to me, has been quite noteworthy. Does Marcus Williams alone make this a top-notch defense? No. Certainly makes it a very quality secondary, but we kind of thought they were going to have a quality secondary no matter what, as long as they had their guys back. They were supposed to have a quality secondary a year ago. They just didn't have Marcus Peters out on the field, and Marlon Humphrey struggled. Part of that is Marlon Humphrey's got to get back to being Marlon Humphrey, right? They're going to have this top-notch secondary. The Ravens believe in building through the secondary in order to make their defense. And analytically, there is reason to say that they're doing that the right way. I've discussed this a million times. We can say that all we want, and I don't doubt that it's true. But ultimately, the way the defense shapes up for me in the NFL is you can have a quality defense, but at the end of the day, you're going to need plays to be made. And the most likely place for those plays to be made will be up front and disrupting a quarterback. As we know, the most important play the Ravens made defensively a year ago was from Odafe Oweh. The most likely scenario for where defense is going to win you games/championships continues to be end-of-game situations, and do you have someone who can ruin what a team wants to do when they've got 4 downs to go beat you? And I like Marcus Williams, and the answer is, could he help in that way? Maybe. It might very well be that Marcus Williams, because he plays the ball so well, can either get an interception or deflect a ball that turns into an interception or something along those lines. But when it comes to those situations, sacks continue to be more valuable than incomplete passes because you got 4 plays to try to go convert 10 yards, and an incomplete pass just isn't the end of the world. A sack that backs you up and makes it 3rd and 20 instead of 3rd and 10, that changes everything. So I understand why the Ravens continue to build through the secondary. And again, in a vacuum, I like Marcus Williams a great deal. I think their defense can be better because they've got Marcus Williams. But I'll maintain that myself, personally, Glenn Clark, I would prioritize having big-time playmakers up front. Disruptive guys who can impact and get quarterbacks on the ground. And I know that the idea can be, hey, if we've got tight coverage, that allows our guys more time to make plays in the backfield. And that might prove to be true. Possibly might prove to be true. We don't know. I can't see the future. But overwhelmingly, in recent years, the most significant moments defensively have come at the end of games when you have someone up front who can disrupt and change the course of a game. I know Odafe Oweh wasn't making a play on a quarterback. He was making a play on a running back, but you get the point. It's the guys that can make the plays in the backfield. That, to me, changes a football game. Now, I hope that Marcus Williams is so good and their secondary is so good that they have plenty of time and Odafe Oweh takes another step forward. Tyus Bowser comes back healthy and looks to be the guy that we saw from him a year ago. And, frankly, the Ravens probably still have something else to do up front, whether that's an edge rusher or whether that's a defensive lineman like a Jordan Davis in the draft. I hope there's still one more impact player coming this year. And I know there are still guys that are available. We'll still talk about Zadarius Smith. We'll still talk about some of the other guys that are out there. I hope the Ravens still have something coming in that way. Because it's literally the only thing I can say that is anything other than, yeah, this is great. I love this. The only other thing I can say is I'm still very concerned about their front seven. Very concerned. I mean, like, really, really concerned. I don't think, I mean, they don't have anything on the defensive line right now. They've got Justin Madubuike, who I like. Nice player. But what else? I hope that there is still more to come for the front seven because it concerns me a great deal as far as the Ravens having and as much as I like the idea of having a Marcus Williams, a really good football player. And I love the idea of the Ravens being willing to spend money on a really good football player in free agency. I mean, you got to pay top dollar. All the bits we're trying to do on the internet, we're like, oh, they got him for a steal. They got him for a bargain. You got to get a hold of yourselves. I get it. We're all obsessed with the fact that we want the Ravens to be better than everybody else. The idea that there were 3 other teams that were willing to pay Marcus Williams more money than what the Ravens got him for is not true. Now, there have been reports there were other teams that might have been willing to pay Marcus Williams about what the Ravens gave him. But the Ravens got him for what his market value was, no matter what you read on Spot Track or on whatever other website that you like, Pro Football Focus or whatever other website you like to go to where they predicted he would get more money than that. It's nonsense. It means nothing. It is of no value and only makes you dumber when you think that that's some sort of biblical thing. The Ravens got him for what his market value was. But I'm glad they were willing to pay that. I like the idea of the Ravens being aggressive to go get a football player that's going to help this team. I love that. I love the idea that they don't just hide behind the idea of, well, this isn't how the Ravens do business. We're not going to be this team. We'll let everybody else go do that, and we'll continue to trust our drafts, and we'll continue to trust our development, and we'll continue to trust the things that we do, and we're not going to worry about the first couple days of free agency. I love the idea that the Ravens prioritize going and getting a really good football player and a player that they wanted. I just still have concerns about their front seven. That's it. Now, they got plenty of time. I get it. They're not playing a game tomorrow. I would love it if they. Oh no, we got that basketball for a couple days. I'd like it if they were playing a game next Monday. That would be a good day for them to play a game because I could use some more of that.
Well, they also got a couple of comp picks yesterday, right?
Well, but we knew that was coming.
We knew that was coming,
Yeah.
but they have a ton of picks to make some moves.
Yeah, but I mean, with all due, they're not finding a guy in the third round that I guess they get one more third round, one more fourth round. Again, they're not finding a guy there that I'm expecting to be an impact player in week 1 of the NFL season. If you're finding that guy, it's either got to be very early on in the draft. And I get it. There's a 1 in 1,000 chance that you can find that guy, and not by week 1, but you can find somebody in the third or fourth round that by like week 6 is a legitimate impact player. Mm-hmm. It's not impossible. It's just very unlikely. Yeah. You find that guy either in the first round of the draft, or you find that guy out still on the free agent market, and you say, hey, at this point, we've already signed 2 guys. Let's keep going. What are we waiting for? What are we doing? The compensatory picks be damned. Let's go make this happen and fill all of the holes that we have and go that route. Morgan Moses. I like Morgan Moses. He's a solid player. Let's not oversell it. Let's not pretend like he's Jonathan Ogden, but he's a solid player that's held up well, that absolutely is a better idea than Alejandro Villanueva ever was. Morgan Moses has been a guy that has done his job for the most part. He's not dominant. He's not overwhelming, but he's done his job. He's been solid. He's been someone that, is going to give up a play or two. He's not going to win every matchup. He's not going to. It's not who he is. But he's held his own. And with the Ravens needing something at the tackle position, and we don't know what that is. We don't know if it's going to be that they need a left tackle, or they're going to need a right tackle, or what it is or they're going to need a swing tackle. Because they have so much unknown in the group of Ronnie Stanley and Jawan James, and even if you want to throw Patrick McCary in the unknown because you don't know if you're going to need to ask him to play center again, there's so much unknown at the tackle position that there is so much good that you can get from signing Morgan Moses to a 3-year, $15 million deal. You can comfortably believe that he can be a right tackle, and you can do worse in an emergency situation if you need him to be your left tackle. He checks a lot of boxes. It's just so logical is the word that I keep coming back to. There's danger in overselling it. There's danger in pretending like Morgan Moses is an all-pro or is like a tremendously great player. But he's really solid. And given what their weird situation is, it's a massive thumbs up. This is exactly what they needed to do. They weren't going to be able to find a guy, or it was not practical for them to spend massive money to find a left tackle in this market because they think they've got their left tackle. They paid their left tackle a lot of money. They needed to find someone who was a unique fit. The Villanueva thing never made sense from the get-go. I don't want to keep going back to it, but just for comparison's sake, because he wasn't any good at left tackle anymore, and he had literally never played right tackle. There was no reason to think that he could help you in any capacity. He wasn't a good idea as a backup plan at left tackle, and there was just no evidence to say that they knew that he could play right tackle. Morgan Moses is a really good right tackle who's held his own when he's had to play left tackle. I say really good. Again, I want to be careful about that. He's not an all-pro caliber right tackle, but he's a very solid right tackle.
Good enough to start every game.
Correct. And somebody would point out, for bad teams. He's been on bad teams, right? But he's played well. He's not been their problem. I'll take that because I don't know how this is all going to flush out. This is so confusing where the Ravens find themselves offensive tackle-wise because they have so many darts that they're throwing here. I don't know how it plays out for them. But they need to have backup plan to your backup plan to back up your backup plan. And Morgan Moses provides that. It's just so smart. It's so logical signing Morgan Moses. Big thumbs up. Again, keeping that within reason, that I'm not trying to pretend like he's Ronnie Stanley or that he's Orlando Brown, but he's a solid pickup and makes a lot of sense. 2 good moves in a vacuum for the Baltimore Ravens. Now, what else can they do? We'll find out. There's a lot of money that's already been spent. They don't have a deal with Lamar Jackson. They might have to create some more money somewhere, and presumably they'll be working on that in the next couple of days. I have no doubt that when you see Eric DeCosta swinging Pat Moriarty around, he knows that Pat Moriarty's working on those things. They got work to do, and I assume they'll be doing that over the course of the next week. The other news this morning, oh, man, before we get to our first guest today, of course, is Adley Rutschman. It's bad news, and it's only bad news in the context of, well, I say if it's just this, it's only bad news in the context of opening day. Nathan Ruiz from the Baltimore Sun among those reporting that Brandon Hyde said that he will miss 2 to 3 weeks with a tricep strain. And at this point, not only would you sort of like cancel out opening day, but this is a plenty good excuse for them to say there's no reason for us to stick him out there until the service time thing is up. And we can be mad about that, but it's almost illogical to do otherwise. If somebody's going to be out for a few weeks, and now you're really talking about potentially a difference of like 1, maybe 10 games, something along those lines. I know that there can be a reward, but I think the more that we've dug on this, I had somebody reach out to me and say that like the compensation for the Orioles might actually just be like an international draft pick, and we don't even know what the international draft is
if
yet.
There's even going to be one.
I mean, like, until I know, unless it has been drawn out, what the compensation would be. And I also don't know how the injury impacts this, because I believe the wording of the compensation was that they would be on the opening day roster. Well, if someone's on the DL, does that put them on the opening day roster or not?
No.
So is that over then? If it's just over, I would think that there would have to be some sort of unique situation here where if somebody is legitimately on the injured list, but you could have put them on the opening day roster anyway.
Well, when you put somebody on the injured list, you create a roster space.
I understand, but
so
this is about the manipulation thing. Putting him on if he's legitimately injured, that's not a manipulation situation. So I don't. This again goes back to the lack of knowledge of how this whole thing works, and the Orioles are going to have to dig into that. If the difference, so opening day is the 7th, right? Do I have my math? Is that so?
For the Orioles, it's the 8th.
It's the 8th, right? So they're on the road. So I guess it never would have made sense for him to be playing that first weekend. I didn't even do the math on this. It never really made sense for him to play that first weekend. You kind of want his first game to be at home. So let's just say we're talking about the difference in he could be available to play on the Orioles' true opening day on April 11th, or you could wait and get to, what would the date be then? The 26th? Is that the date?
Yeah.
No,
it's 15 days, so it would be the 23rd. 15 days from opening day.
So it'd be the 23rd in order to get past the service time thing.
Technically, since the bulk of the Major League season starts on the 7th, I think it would be the 22nd.
Because it's about days. It's not about
days
games.
of the season. Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about the difference in a week and a half, right, in something like this. But I'll go back to, if he is, let's just say he's out and literally could not play. It seems as simple as this. You put him on a You put him on the IL, and then you have him do a rehab assignment to start the season. And I guess I would need to know what that means. Does a rehab assignment officially count as service time or not?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't think so.
I think if you're just not on the roster.
But we know that a rehab assignment is different than being assigned to a team.
Right.
You are a major leaguer when you're serving a rehab assignment. It can be designated that way. I got to be honest. I'm sorry. I just don't know. I don't know how all this impacts it. I'll go back to broadly. I think this means Adley Rutschman isn't going to be on the roster on opening day. But, I guess I still don't know that. And we have to get some of the details as to how this compensation thing actually works, what the actual value of it is, when he would actually be able to play. If it's 2 weeks, then he would be able to play on opening day. Even technically 3 weeks would be right at about the stretch of opening day. I'm just imagining they probably wouldn't want him to play in the major leagues without having done anything game-wise before that. It's just my guess. My guess is they would say as an organization, look, service time manipulation be damned. We don't really want someone's first baseball action of the season to be a Major League Baseball game when they've never played in the major leagues before. We would prefer, even if we're not trying to be cute and creative with service time manipulation, we would just prefer that someone go get some game action somewhere before we have them play in a Major League Baseball game.
No, and I don't think they're going to do this, but maybe they could put him on the opening day roster and then IL him retroactive to a certain date.
In order to get the credit for
and then
this
you still get
draft
the
pick compensation thing.
I don't know that they would do that, but it's something they could do.
And the IL actually, oh boy, you know what? I need somebody above my pay grade in order to sort all this out. I need somebody smarter than me to sort all those things out. All right, today's show is also brought to you by the Baltimore Police Department. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org. Always love catching up with our next guest, and he knows a thing or two about one of the new Baltimore Ravens. Of course, you hear him as part of the Ravens radio broadcast team. He is a former Baltimore Ravens defensive coordinator, former NFL head coach. He's our friend Mike Nolan, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn and Paul. It's great to chat with you as always. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Sure, guys. Great to be on with you. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now. Thank you, as always, taking the time. Really appreciate you doing it.
Sure.
Coach, you got to know Marcus Williams a little bit. I know he wasn't part of your group necessarily, but you were down there in New Orleans with him. When you saw yesterday that the Ravens had been bold and gone out and done something they don't do a lot, which is spend big money at the start of free agency to land Marcus Williams, what was your immediate reaction to that?
They got a good player. That's the most important thing. I think that's the thing that fans want to know. How good a guy did we get? Because they don't always get a chance to see him play, but they got a very good player. The thing that I'm kind of excited about, not only for the Ravens, but also for Marcus, is I think he'll make another step making this move from New Orleans. New Orleans is a very well-coached football team. They play a lot of scheme, which the Ravens are used to doing. And I think that he'll take another step in that because although they play a lot of scheme, they play it differently than the Ravens do. And I think Marcus has got the range and things to be a little bit better than he actually is because of that range. The Ravens have always been a disguised defense for the last 25 years, and they do some amazing things with the safeties. Marcus has only done a little bit of that at the Saints. And I think he's certainly got the ability to do all those things. So his game, I think, will go to another level being a Raven. So I'm kind of excited for both Marcus as well as the Ravens.
Mike, there was something that was thrown around yesterday, and even the people that were saying it said, hey, look, I'm not trying to say that Marcus Williams is Ed Reed. So let's get that out of the way first because we can't compare anyone to Ed Reed.
No.
Ed Reed is Ed Reed.
That's unfair.
Right. But I think the idea was the way he plays and what he's able to do versus the ball is akin to the style of football that Ed Reed played. It's just that Ed Reed was, of course, perhaps the greatest to ever do that. As far as style alone, do you think that is a reasonable thing to say about Marcus Williams, that he's the closest thing stylistically that the Ravens have seen to Ed Reed since the 2012 season?
In the area of range and playing the safety position and in that area, I would say that's a comparison. From the standpoint of some other things, obviously, Ed did so many things very
right.
well. I mean, he did it from the line of scrimmage. He did it from back in the middle of the field. He did it from all over the place. That's where I was saying earlier, I was kind of trying to allude to where Marcus, I think, Marcus can do it from all over the field as Ray did, then you got a guy that's comparable. But as it is right now, I think the thing that you can compare is the range and the ability to get to the ball all over the field. But he's been doing it from pretty much a post position, meaning right in the middle of the field at about 10 to 15 yards deep. So they're, like I said, from that position, yes, it's comparable, but from doing it all over, which Ed did and which created the quarterback's problems where where's Ed going to be? That's what he's got to, if he steps up that part of his game, which I believe he will because he's got the ability to, then I think he'll be even more excited than you already are.
Wow. Oh, that's significant. He is Mike Nolan. He's with us here on GCR. Coach, the only, again, I like everything about, the Ravens signing Marcus Williams. I'm high on it. The only thing I would say is that the Ravens have made this sort of dedication to building the defense through the secondary. And analytically, there are plenty of people that argue that's exactly what you should be doing in the NFL at this point. But it still feels to me like the biggest difference, given the way that rules work in the NFL and how much they benefit offense, that the biggest difference defense can make is at the end of games having someone up front that can step in and wreck a play and get a quarterback on the ground and get a ball out and, do what Odafe Owe did against the Chiefs a year ago or disrupt that way. The idea, the philosophy of building this way through the secondary and that continuing to be where they have invested is secondary. What do you make of that, and do you have concerns at all about what it is that they have or don't have at this point up front defensively?
Well, I would say philosophically, it all begins in the front. It always will start in the front. They don't call it secondary for a reason. I mean, or shouldn't say, it's called secondary, meaning it's secondary. The primary is in your front. And so you always want to do that. Although at this time of year, sometimes the value that you get, the bang for your buck, is at another position that's still of need. And so that could very well have been it. I think if they were, my belief is that if they were just starting ground zero, they probably would start up front. But I think they got a very good player in Marcus Williams and somebody, like I said, that should take another step, to get better.
Sure.
But everyone, you do need some people up front. Look, up front, if the guys up front do their job, they can stop the run and the pass. On the back end, you're a secondary run defender. So most of the time, anyhow, every now and then you're a primary guy, but most of the time you're a secondary guy. So it may not even get to you if your front's really good, which some defenses around the league, as you look, the teams that have great fronts, the back end doesn't do a whole lot in the run game, and they don't have to make a lot of tackles. So you want to, like I said, you want to start up front. And I think they'll continue to do that, whether it's in the draft or whether it's even in free agency. The Ravens have always done a great job of landing, a spot defensive lineman here and there that's got some gas in his tank still that'll do some things. And then along with it, they've done a great job drafting. So I think I think it'll be a younger defense next year, but it will still be a very good defense.
To your point, I don't think there's any position on the field that I trust the Ravens to find someone that can be helpful even later in the draft than on the defensive line. This is, obviously Haloti Ngata was an early pick, but in more recent years, Brandon Williams, Michael Pierce was undrafted. There is probably no position that I trust them and what they can do later than specifically along the defensive line.
Yeah. Well, here's what I will add to that, though. When you look at Wolf, Williams, and Campbell, the three, that they had hoped to start with the season with last year, they did not because Wolf was out. But, all three of those players have leadership ability, and they have a lot of pelts on the wall. To me, that's the hardest thing that they will try to replace is going to be the leadership of those three guys, in my opinion. They're going to find good players, and some of the backup guys are even good guys, good players. But from a leadership standpoint, guys that have been there, done it, that can show the young guys how to do it, that's really hard to replace. And that doesn't mean you can't win without it. But it's sure, if you look at the Ray Lewis and the Ed Reed and everybody else and the Suggs and everybody else that was on those great defenses for a long time, they were not only great players, they had great leadership ability.
All right, there's no question about that. By the way, what should we know about Marcus Williams as far as that's concerned? What kind of is he a vocal guy? Is he someone that maybe wasn't necessarily, but as he gets a contract like this, you think he might be a little bit more of that type of player?
He's not. He's definitely not the. Look, you're talking about elite leaders in Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and the rest of those guys. But I would say this. I would not describe him as a leader necessarily, but he's a very good team player. He's an excellent team player, and that's really important to the Ravens because that's what they got very unselfish guys. They do a lot of things in that regard. So they're going to get a very unselfish player. They're going to get a guy with a lot of personality that will talk a lot, that the guys will really love to be around. he's all those things. But, from a leadership standpoint, he's just average. But again, I think Ravens are fair to guys with that. They don't try to expect guys to be something they're not. And I think that would be fair to Marcus, but they're going to get a very good team player. And that's extremely important. Not everybody's going to be a leader, and you need some great soldiers. And I think he's a hell of a soldier.
What'd you think of them adding Morgan Moses yesterday as well?
Wow, I was unaware of that one. Being here in Denver, I didn't catch a load of that.
Okay, yeah, they signed him for 3 years last.
I have nothing to say on that.
Okay, I mean, I think that we all know that they had a tackle issue, right? That given Ronnie Stanley's concern, that they needed to address it somehow and couldn't just go into the year saying, hey, let's hope for the best with Ronnie Stanley and everything works out. It seems to me like adding a veteran tackle that, has been pretty reliable during the course of his career for 3 years seems like a pretty logical move.
Oh, that's a great move. I mean, it really is. That's a very good move because, again, they're going to do it some in the draft when that comes about. But for the time being, they're going to add good players that they think fit into the Raven way. You can't – they're not just going to go get a player that's a selfish guy. I mean, when's the last time the Ravens brought in a selfish veteran? I mean, I can't remember. I mean, most of the time –
someone would probably argue Earl Thomas ended up falling into that category,
he
Coach.
Did fall into that. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
I would agree with that one.
Yeah.
I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah, but other than that, yes, I think you make a really good point.
Yeah, and everybody makes a mistake once in a while, but they found a good player.
Yeah.
But
no, you're right. He was a hell of a player for that first year, and then it all just kind of went to.
Yeah. Well, anyhow,
Yeah.
But look, as we both know, the offensive line is one of the areas they're going to continue to work to improve as well, because it's so instrumental in the success of the offense that they do run. There's no way around it. They don't. It's not forget. I mean, they pound the heck out of people, and they need to get the line in order to do that. I know they had a lot of injuries. They got a couple of young guys, I think, that'll come on, but again, that's an area that I think they're going to address, as they already have.
At this point now, knowing what they've already done, Coach, would you think that center still needs to be a priority for them, as we're assuming Bradley Bozeman is still going to end up signing somewhere else? Although every moment that he doesn't sign, you can't help but hope that means that his number is coming back to where the Baltimore Ravens could get him back. Or do you need to go back to that defensive front that we're talking about? What would be still the biggest priority for you as far as what the Ravens need to do?
I think if all things were equal in the player's ability and what he gave your football team, I think they'd go to the defensive line.
Yeah.
But all things aren't equal.
Of course.
And they never will be. So it'll be interesting what they do next. What you can say about the Ravens is they always identify correctly what it is they need to do and what positions they need to go after. And sometimes there's not a guy at that position. So you may say, God, why aren't they going for this? They don't have one, blah, blah, blah. And all these people blow up people's names and say, this guy's the greatest and all that. If the Ravens don't touch him, there's darn good reason why they haven't touched him. So, and yet sometimes they say, look, there's about, this is a heavy draft in that position, and so we're going to get 1, 2, 3 guys in the draft. We know that. So again, when it's all said and done and the draft is over, I think that's when you'll really, I think it'll all piece together as it always does, and you'll see the logic in what they're doing.
The other thing I want to run by you before I let you go, Coach, there are 2 different proposals that are on the table for fixing overtime, and the league's going to talk about it. The first is let both teams have the ball no matter what. If both teams score, we play on, go from there. The other, and I believe it was from the Titans, is that the first team gets the ball, and if they go score a touchdown, they get the choice. They can go for 2, and if they get it, the game is just over right then, or they can kick the extra point, and the game will play on. Do you like either of those 2 scenarios better?
None of them are fair. That's the problem. Then there's only one fair system in colleges running it, in my opinion, or unless the old system that the NFL used to have, where they just kind of went to the full quarter and whoever got it won the game. But again, I just wish they would. They just will not do anything that somebody says is a college thing. They just won't do it. They just won't do it. For some reason, when you tag college on it, it's like, that's a college thing. I mean, the most exciting. I mean, you guys have watched college games. I'm gonna tell you what, watching overtime is exciting. I mean, it's exciting. It's the balls at the scoring range. It's like, everybody loves scoring. Let's get the ball closest to the 20-yard line, and let's do it. And let's play until somebody's a winner. And it's fair. and it's exciting.
What do you
know what else you want.
What do you make of the argument that it neutralizes having quality special teams, right? Like that you're.
What do you miss? Let's talk about what you miss. you miss punting and punt returning. Let's talk about how many punt returns.
I hear you.
How many times the ball's punted.
I hear you.
That's that guy that sits back there and just can't wait to throw that out there and say, yeah, well, we're losing. Especially, come on, give me a break, buddy. I mean, my goodness.
I get it. I think maybe it might be because, like in Baltimore, we've got the greatest kicker of all time. We just maybe prefer that, like, the drive doesn't start immediately in field goal range because
look, you just said, though, the kicker's he's in it now. The field goal is critical.
Right.
He's in it. The extra point, critical. He's in it. But punting the ball, come on. I mean, we're going to miss punt returns. I mean, that's when everybody leaves. That's usually when guys run to get the more chips in their plate. That's usually when you run into the bathroom a lot of times. I mean, that's not. People aren't hanging around. I shouldn't be that critical of it because I was a special teams coach my first 2 years in the league, so I love special teams. But again, we're talking about overtime. We're talking about this is. I don't know. It just bothers me. People throw that out there because it's such nonsense. I mean, there's a great way right now that is so exciting. And just use it and quit saying, well, it's a college thing.
I hear you. I hear
you.
If
it wasn't for the college thing and the zone read that came from college into the NFL finally, first off, it started in high school. Then it went to the college. Then it went to the NFL. I mean, without that, there would be about 15 quarterbacks that can't play in the NFL.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's fair, right? That's fair.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You go back about 25 years when I first started being a coordinator in the league.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guys wouldn't run.
Yep.
I mean, and if they did run, it was strictly scrambling.
Yep.
They weren't running because it was designed. Now they run when it's designed. And I mean, from Michael Vick, who just did a little of it, all the way to Cam Newton to
Lamar, obviously,
name it.
right?
I mean, Russell right now, who just went to the Broncos. I mean, that's what he does. The threat of that is what got those guys, gave them the ability and the time to develop as an NFL quarterback.
So in general,
never got before.
In general, the NFL should consider more of kind of what the college football game is doing. Is what you're saying? It's an interesting concept.
Well, I wish again, it's just. There's just no question, in my opinion, getting back to the original topic of overtime, I don't think there's a more exciting time in a football game than an overtime in a college game. I mean, it's exciting.
It's kind of the way I talk about the new the extra inning rule in baseball for the last couple of years, where I'm like, I thought I would hate it, and then I just loved it because it was a runner on second base every inning, and it just made everything so much more exciting once you got to extra innings. Coach, it's great to catch up with you. I really appreciate taking the time. Anything you're doing between now and when the season starts that we can plug for you?
No, not at all.
Hanging out, enjoying life. That's not a bad way of spending your time, my friend.
Well, I'm making efforts. It's just not coming through, but that's okay with me.
Coach, hopefully we'll be seeing you back here in Baltimore by the time we get around to August in the preseason. Always appreciate you taking the time for us. Let's chat again real soon, all right?
All right, Glenn, Paul, appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
He's Coach Mike Nolan, of course, former Ravens defensive coordinator, and he was down in New Orleans with Marcus Williams for a couple of years. Some high praise for him as a football player. Says, okay, he ain't Ed Reed, and we all know that. Come on.
Nobody's Ed Reed.
That's silly. But I get what people were trying to say yesterday about stylistically, he's closer to things that Ed Reed did in the style of football player he is. It's just that Ed Reed was so cerebral that it can't be. There's no way to duplicate that. Right. It will never be duplicated again, likely. But stylistically, what it is that he's trying to do is more similar to Ed Reed. And, of course, that sounds good. That sounds great. That sounds like a big thumbs up. I'm all for it. He's got to go do it. Like it's the way it's got to go, and it's got to prove that it'll work. And we still have to see what else the Ravens are going to do between now and when they line up to play a game in Week 1 of the NFL season. All right, today's show also brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. If you missed Stan talking baseball with Doug DeCince the other day, I would encourage you to go find it, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab, or go to PressBoxOnline.com/video. It is available right there. And he does 2 shows a week for you on Mondays and Thursdays with great guests. Stan the Fan talking baseball on Mondays and a newsmaker in the world of sports every Thursday as well. When we come back in, a couple of things I wanted to cover. We'll lay out the Would You Rather Wednesday scenarios for sure. And Charles Davis is going to join us at the top of the hour to talk a little bit more about what the Ravens have done and far more about the NFL draft for this week's draft segment. That's on the way. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Sports fans, the wait is over.
over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Glory Days Grill's St. Patrick's menu is now in full swing, and it's their most popular seasonal menu all year. New in 2022 are their smoky thigh wings with Guinness grilling sauce, a house-made Guinness barbecue sauce. Fan favorites also include their corned beef and cabbage, the shepherd's pie with Guinness braised ground beef, the Glory Days Reuben, and the Rachel. Enjoy a pint of Guinness or Guinness Baltimore Blonde. The St. Patrick's menu is available for the whole month of March. Come in for great food, cold beer, and basketball. Find out more about Glory Days Grill and get your order in online at glorydaysgrill.com.
The newest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farms stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a wide range of models and trim lines. You can choose the perfect Toyota to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
If you miss anything, don't forget that you can find whole shows later on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcast. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue on a Wednesday edition of the program. That means it's a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the show. Today's show also brought to you by, this one's brought to you by Simply the Bets every Tuesday morning, 11:40 a.m. We're talking sports betting with you. Same locations, facebook.com/PressBoxSports, youtube.com/PressBoxOnline, PressBoxOnline.com/radio. It's all brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Get you ready for everything going on during the course of the week. Obviously, yesterday's show was heavy on the NCAA tournament. Our buddy Aaron Oster from VEASAN throwing out some winners, trying to follow up on that huge Cal State Fullerton pick from last week that ended up being a big, big winner for you, and I played it. I hope you guys did too. So we do that every Tuesday, and then every other Thursday we've got Weekend at Bookies for you at 11:40 a.m. as well. I need you. I had a bunch of our regulars that got in yesterday. Thank you. We are almost there. I think we got like 10, maybe 12 spots. Got a couple people that are being a little flaky that like said they were in but haven't paid, and it's no good to me, and the games start tomorrow. So I need you to get in. Need you right now to go pull out your phone, open up your old Venmo app, and I need you to send $20 to @Glenn-Clark, or open up your PayPal app, send $20 to @GlennClark180, or open up your Cash App and send $20 to $Glenn Clark Radio. And when you do, message me, or in the notes, say, here's my email address, and I'll send you the link to get in to our bracket contest. You say, Glenn, it's just another bracket contest. Except it's not. It's a bit different. because our bracket contest helps charity. Our bracket contest is going to get a winner $500, a second-place finisher $250, and $250 to charity. And that particular charity being the folks that Show Your Soft Side. $500 to the winner, $250 to second place, $250 we're pulling out. So I'm trying to do this math. I guess it's a quarter. It's like $4 from everybody. Goes right to, is that math right? How's that, 50 people? I guess it's $2 from everybody. I don't know. Whatever the math is. $250 is going directly to Show Your Soft Side and the incredible work that they do for pets, for animals in our community. And we're going to be partnering up with them for their upcoming Project Runway here in, what is that? What day is today? It's March 16th. So I think that's coming up in 5 weeks at whatever the name of Pier 6 is now. I apologize. I know it's got a corporate name, but whatever it is, that's where Project Runway is going to be, and we're going to be involved with that. But we want to take care of them and all of the amazing things that they do. So I need you to get in right now. You got 24 hours. I swear to God, and I'm going to call more of you out by name. I appreciate those of you that already got in. I know Nick Kelly got in yesterday. Ben from San Francisco got in yesterday. Kyle Ottenheimer got in yesterday. A lot of you got in yesterday. But I'm going to start calling out others of you by name. Like Matt Torper, you asked me if I was doing the bracket contest, and you haven't gotten in yet. Need you to get in. Matt Myers, need you to get in. I need our regulars to get in. Kyle Andrews, it was your birthday yesterday. Where you at? Need you to get in. Ken Zales got in. I like that. I'm going to keep calling you out by name. I need our folks involved. Don't tell me. I swear to God, I had somebody tell me, I don't really pay attention to college basketball. Do you think that means anything? Have you ever played in a bracket contest before? It is dumb luck and nothing more than that. Need you to get in. That's it. Simple as that. Get in. We're going to fill this up. 50 spots. Let's get it filled today so I don't have to sweat this out tomorrow morning and shut down the show in order to get the final few spots filled. Get your ass in our bracket contest right now so we can take care of the fine folks at Show Your Soft Side. Cool? Capiche? As they might say in some cultures. Capiche.
I just sent you my money.
Thank you, Paul Valley. Thank you. We're one closer. Thank you.
Couldn't let Kyle from the grave get in.
I mean, yeah, it's not a great look. It's not a great look if he's. I'll call out. Ryan Shell also got in, who's back helping out with us. I'll call out. Where's Lil Jordan? Lil Jordan needs to get in. He's a degenerate anyway. Come on, what are we doing? I'm calling you guys out by name. Get in. Let's go. Finish this up. I don't want to sweat it out any longer. I wouldn't really care. In the past, I used to do these things. I don't care how many people get in, however many people get in. We do a bracket contest. We call a winner. But now it's about charity. I don't do any of these things any longer that don't have a charity aspect to them. We're spinning off $250. That's helpful. That's going to go a long way to taking care of animals in our community. So let's do that. $250 for the folks at Show Your Soft Side. All we got to do is $20 to get into the bracket contest. And again, you could win up to $500 yourself by participating. It is as simple as that. Would You Rather Wednesday is typically very simple as well. We'll talk about it more when Drew Forrester joins us, but right now you can find the setups for Would You Rather Wednesday at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter, Facebook.com/Glenn Clark Radio. They're available for you in either space. Would you rather number one? Would you rather the Baltimore Ravens have one more significant move to make in the first wave of free agency? It's either that they bring back Calais Campbell or they sign former Browns center J.C. Tretter. Number two, would you rather? Congratulations. You've won a bracket contest, not ours, a more significant bracket contest. And winning that bracket contest gives you a unique choice of prizes. Either $25,000 in cash, and again, keep in mind, you don't get to get around taxes and things like that. Like, you still just consider that as you make your decision. Or you get a seat on the next Blue Origin flight to space, which apparently Pete Davidson is going to be on next week because, I mean, why not? For Christ's sakes. What is he going to do next? Number three, There's a lot of talk about Baker Mayfield last night. Deshaun Watson indeed goes to the Cleveland Browns for a king's ransom. They pay all of their future first-round picks to land Deshaun Watson. Or Watson goes to the Falcons, and the Falcons give up Matt Ryan to the Pittsburgh Steelers for next to nothing. Those are the three scenarios, and I would like you to think about them because I'm sensing that the first batch of responses didn't involve a lot of thought, just sort of said, yeah, this one. I want you to think about them. Think them through, consider them, and we'll talk about it a little bit later on when Drew Forrester joins us. That's Would You Rather Wednesday, which is brought to you by Glory Days Grill. All right, so let's talk about the Baker Mayfield thing from last night. I'm in a weird place with the dunking on Baker Mayfield for being an Aaron Rodgers-like drama queen versus the understanding and somewhere between the empathy and like compassion that was being shared for Baker Mayfield based on the idea that, you know, all he's ever done is play his heart out for this franchise and even got hurt and tried to play through being hurt in order to be out there for him, and now they're rewarding him by flirting with another quarterback. And I'm in a weird place between those two things because it sort of reflects what I've talked about before in relation to Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns, which is I get why there are people in Cleveland that would say, go ahead and pay Baker Mayfield top dollar because they know what life was like before Baker Mayfield. I would compare it similarly to the way most of us felt in Baltimore related to Joe Flacco. Did any of us think Joe Flacco was the best quarterback in football?
Ron Jaworski did.
I don't even think even
he said it. He said he was the number one quarterback after he signed that contract.
Yeah, but that was scuttle. I mean, that was nothing. I mean, like he didn't legitimately believe that. It's his. By the way, they're very close friends. It's part of the story.
Fair enough.
They're in fact now business partners together. They lived. They were. I think Ron Jaworski was neighbors with Joe Flacco's dad. No one here believed that Joe Flacco was Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers or frankly even Ben Roethlisberger. But we knew what quarterback was like before Joe Flacco got to Baltimore. And because of that, there was no consternation other than from a small group of a-holes. There was no consternation about paying Joe Flacco big dollars. Frankly, if they had lost the Super Bowl to the 49ers, if Michael Crabtree had caught a touchdown at the end of the game, there still would have been no consternation. Because we knew. We understood the difference in having a quarterback versus not having a quarterback. And the idea of simply rolling the dice and hoping that you can do better is problematic. It's why the majority of us, despite the fact that we know that Lamar Jackson wasn't good against the blitz last year and have some concerns about Lamar Jackson, would still say, yeah, you have to pay him a perverted amount of money because that's the way this works. And in Cleveland, as much as those of us on the outside have said, there's no way you can pay Baker Mayfield like that. You can't do that. That's insane. There are certainly people that say, no, what's insane is the idea that we would have Brandon Weeden, Johnny Manziel, Tim Couch, Austin Davis, Spurgeon Wynn, Seneca Wallace, Ken Dorsey, Derek Anderson, insert name here is our quarterback.
You said Spurgeon Wynn.
Spurgeon, I think he was in Cleveland for a minute.
He was.
I believe he was.
Spurgeon Wynn, that's a pull.
Robert Griffin III. Any of them. I probably even touch on half of the quarterbacks they've had since they returned to the league. They understand. Baker Mayfield is a capable quarterback in the NFL. He is by far the best thing they've had since they returned to the league. By far. Not close.
I just don't think that you can give Baker Mayfield top dollar because of your past ineptitude. That just shows more ineptitude to me.
You say that. You can say it's about ineptitude. There are plenty of other organizations that haven't had. You're talking about the top quarterbacks of the top quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. The idea that that's the standard is that you have to be the top quarterback or one of the top 6 or 7 is nuts.
Baker Mayfield's not getting $40 million a year because he made them not suck as bad.
I mean, it's not that he made them not suck as bad. He made them good. He got them to the playoffs. He won a playoff game.
In 4 years.
I understand
that's
that.
That's a really low bar. And I get it. The bar is the lowest it could be with the Cleveland Browns. But you can't pay a guy for not sucking as bad.
Paul, you keep saying that. What you're measuring it by is the exact same trap that a lot of people fall into, which is you have to be this good in order to get that money. You're not measuring it by is who is your quarterback if it's not Baker Mayfield?
Somebody else.
That's not good enough. This is the NFL. If you don't have a quarterback, you have no shot. To just keep saying, well, just go try again. And do what? Get Sam Darnold?
I mean, they're flirting with a guy who still might be suspended by the NFL.
That's a different conversation. We'll get there. There's two separate conversations we're having here. Individually, in a vacuum, looking at Baker Mayfield, the risk is if you don't have Baker Mayfield, you have nothing. And you go back to being utterly and completely moribund. I mean, worthless within the NFL, which is what happens when you have no quarterback. Baker Mayfield, we all think there's a limit to him.
And I get what you're saying. In order to keep him, you're going to have to pay
There's
him.
no option. There's no secondary level.
I get
because
that.
right now, the Indianapolis Colts have no quarterback. And if they had a shot at Baker Mayfield, they take their shot at Baker Mayfield.
They would.
There are too many teams that have no quarterback to think that you can get a leg up in negotiating and saying, but you're not as good as Patrick Mahomes. And I don't think the Baker Mayfield should be getting $50 million a year. My gut is that even the Colts would have a limit to the amount of money that they would pay him, but it ain't going to be for 30. You're not getting him. This is the NFL. Kirk Cousins just got 35. That's the lowest end. And Baker Mayfield, given the fact that he was number one pick, is almost certainly going to be more than Kirk Cousins.
I think Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback.
I don't think I agree with that. I don't think so. I think that Baker Mayfield is more athletic. I think that he does more things. I think Kirk Cousins has been solid when he's had good players around him.
Mm-hmm.
I think Baker Mayfield has more natural gifts than the trade-off being he's not tall, right? Like the trade-off being his size. But he has more natural gifts than Kirk Cousins does. Kirk Cousins is a productive quarterback when he's got talent around him, and it's a nice thing to have.
I think if you measure their production side by side, you'd be surprised at how much better Kirk Cousins is.
No, I just said productive. Productive. Yeah. He's been very productive. It helps when you have Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, and Justin Jefferson to throw the football to. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
And we can say, hey, well, they tried to give him wide receivers in Cleveland. It didn't work. Nobody is trying to pretend like Baker Mayfield isn't part of the problem in Cleveland. He's part of the problem. But who are they without him? Which goes back to why it is that the Deshaun Watson thing made sense. If Cleveland was going to move on from Baker Mayfield, it had to be because they were doing better than Baker Mayfield. That's the only way they could move on from Baker Mayfield, is if they were doing better. And everything else aside, from a pure football standpoint, there's no debate. Deshaun Watson is better than Baker Mayfield. Now, again, there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't want Deshaun Watson to be my quarterback, and I'm not comfortable with it. But it's pretty clear that he's going to be playing quarterback somewhere again. And if you're the Cleveland Browns and you're left in this spot where either you are going to have to commit to Baker Mayfield and a lot of money, or you got to do better than that, Deshaun Watson provides you the possibility of doing better than that. So if you're Baker Mayfield and you find out the Browns are flirting with Deshaun Watson, you get in your feelings. And you send out a cryptic message that makes it seem like what you're saying is, we got to move on. I don't care how this works out with Deshaun Watson. You've jilted me. So I'm out. I'm done. Forget it. Sorry. So sorry. See ya. And it's a weird spot for the Browns to be in. Can that be overcome if they don't get Deshaun Watson? Probably. It probably can be overcome with money. Tell him he's pretty. Go back and say, no, Baker, we love you. You're very pretty. You're a beautiful butterfly. You're our guy. Is it going to be awkward? Yeah, it'll be awkward. But it was awkward with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and they've been able to make it work. I would think that they'll be able to make it work just fine with Baker Mayfield. But I don't know that I neither have I neither have sympathy for Baker Mayfield, nor do I feel like dunking on him is appropriate. I get where it's uncomfortable and where he probably has a ton of people in his life saying, hey, bro, Deshaun Watson, huh? They're kicking you out of town. And he's thinking to himself, yeah, this is pretty effed up. And does it make him look kind of like a 16-year-old girl to send out a message on Twitter? Like, yeah, it does. Like, I mean, we can't. It's the same thing I said about Aaron Rodgers on his weird Instagram post a couple weeks ago. It's very weird. But I kind of get it, too. I kind of get where all you're hearing about all day is from everybody in your life messaging and saying, boy, the team doesn't want you any longer, huh? And you want to say something about it. Because you're not stupid. You see that it's happening. You acknowledge it. But you don't know. You genuinely don't know what it all means. Hey, we'll be in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel this Friday. Hanging out with former Terp Rodney Elliott for the first couple of games of the day in the NCAA tournament. You're going to want to join us. Great giveaways, great prizes. Come out, hang out with us in the FanDuel Sportsbook. No better place to be for the NCAA tournament. Live Casino and Hotel this Friday from noon to 4. Joining us now, let's talk a little NFL draft and probably a little bit more about what the Ravens have done. He is, of course, NFL Network analyst, and you can watch NFL Network's free agent frenzy coverage as it continues today and tomorrow. He is our friend, Mr. Charles Davis, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Charles, it's Glenn and Paul. It's always great to catch up with you. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Thanks for having me on. Hope you guys are well.
Everything is good here. I want to talk some NFL draft with you, obviously, but just your reaction to what it is the Ravens did. We're not really used to the Ravens being this active early in free agency, right? But they went out. They were bold. They spent a lot of money to go get Marcus Williams, added Morgan Moses to the mix, and, you know, in a vacuum, I look at those two things. I don't know how either one of them can be looked at anything other than solid to really good acquisitions and very smart for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, and you know, the term hedges your bets is a lousy term because hedges your bets means you're just like, oh, God, we have so much uncertainty. But they got two proven players there who should plug in immediately and give them good play right from the top. I don't know that people understand just how tough Morgan Moses is. He played with some injuries in Washington when I covered that team for a while. That I'm not sure people really understood and managed to answer the bell just about every week. And Marcus Williams, he needed a change in scenery as far as I was concerned. I thought he needed it a couple seasons ago. And he's managed to fight his way through some stuff and battle. And to be back there and have a chance to pair with Chuck Clark, I really like that move by Baltimore.
I mean, I still have concerns, Charles, about their defensive front. They've made it clear they're going to build through the secondary, and I know that might be your love language, given your history in the game of football, right? But, yeah, you know, we still know, even if the analytics say that is the better way to go about doing it, the biggest plays when games are on the line and trying to win championships still tend to be made up front. And I as I say in a vacuum, I like the moves. I think I still have some concerns about what the Ravens are doing up front. Right now, they don't have much of anything along the defensive line with pending free agents, and there's still time to do stuff. I just can't help but point that out. I think I still have some serious concerns about the Ravens' front seven, despite the fact that their secondary looks really strong.
Yeah, it's understandable, and I get it. I mean, it's gotten to that point now where we used to always default to, I'm going to get a defensive lineman pass rusher before I get a cover guy. That was the easy default, right?
Right.
I think what came into focus a few years ago was when Denzel Ward came into the league and Cleveland took him and passed up Bradley Chubb coming out of NC State, the pass rusher. Remember that one?
Yep, absolutely.
And their then defense coordinator, Greg Williams, said, you know, the way quarterbacks get rid of the ball nowadays, it's not the same priority with that pass rusher. Sure, you want pressure, you want all those things, but that ball's out of their hands so fast, you better have people who can cover downfield. And that's why that kind of became what we bought from Cleveland about why they took Denzel Ward instead of Chubb. So more and more teams thinking that way. More and more teams, when I talk with defensive coordinators, say we play for the pass before the run, which you and I, Glenn, know.
Yep.
I mean, years ago. Well, what?
Yep.
You said what?
Yep.
That would have been grounds for immediately firing that defensive coordinator. But that's where the game is going in a lot of ways. And I think by what they're saying, It sounds harsher than what it really is,
Mm-hmm.
but they are definitely prioritizing. We've got to be able to cover. We've got to have that back end shored up. And maybe we get by with a little bit lesser player up front than maybe we would have before. So it's a very interesting mix. I still know there are plenty of people around the league that still go the other way. They kind of go our traditional way.
Right.
But that thinking has definitely crept in there, whether we want to call it analytics or whether we want to call it the reality of where the game is going.
Sure.
Look at how many playoff teams are playing with, just 3 down linemen and more linebackers, more safety guys, more secondary guys than ever before.
And I promise you, Trey, when I say analytics, I'm not using it as a pejorative. That's not the old man yells at cloud like, hey, how dare we? It's not that thing. It's more just trying to come up with the right term. That scientifically, it's now the way to go about building a defense. And I just still remember the biggest defensive play the Ravens made a year ago was a Dafe Owe in the backfield at the end of the Chiefs game, right? Like that.
Right.
It still feels like when games are on the line. And because of the nature of the rules of the NFL, right, that like when the game is on the line, the best way for your defense to be able to win a football game is to have someone somehow that can make a play in the backfield and change a 2nd and 10 into a 3rd and 24 or something along those lines, right? Like it's still.
Agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. I'm going to go and take the rolled up newspaper out of my hand where I'm screaming, get off my lawn.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to drop that newspaper and say, well, a big reason why we can make those types of plays is
because we
we're
got
doing
time.
our job on the back end.
Yep.
But I come back to this. The biggest play of the season for me, biggest 2 plays. We're in the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald on 3rd and short.
Yep.
To stop.
Yep.
And then Aaron Donald on 4th down with a big play. Big guys still making big plays.
I agree.
So
now,
look, it's still crucial.
Of course, there's only one Aaron Donald. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out a way.
Donald, but how many times did we see it? Von Miller gets picked up by the Rams. Remember the first few weeks when he got picked up by the Rams? People were like, "Ooh, does he still have it?"
Yep. All
was
of a
he
sudden,
not a huge factor down
massive,
the stretch for them?
Massive
factor.
No question.
So,
no question.
There you go.
All right, Charles Davis. I was perusing for a Charles Davis mock draft. Am I incorrect in saying that we have not seen one yet? Charles Davis mock draft.
No, you have not seen one yet, and my first one comes out April the 4th.
Okay.
And my second and final comes out somewhere around April 26, 27 as we get closer to the draft. I only have to do 2, and no one happier that I only have to do 2 than me.
Sure.
Okay, the mock draft is a wonderful exercise, though. I don't want people to mistake my not doing a bunch of them, because I actually do them. They just don't get printed or put out there very often, because those mock drafts are great exercises, especially to remind you when teams add free agent personnel. Is that still a priority for them, right? To be able to do what you hear around the league. I actually talked with GMs, and they told me they follow X number of mock drafts per year about guys they think have their fingers on the pulse of the league to try and get an idea about is there a consensus about where guys are going to help them as they prepare for the draft. Because I used to think teams never looked at those at all. I used to think, why would you look at Charles Davis's draft? That makes no sense. Well, most probably don't look at mine. But there are probably about 10 out there about different people that they know, talk to everyone, get information. And if they can glean stuff if they see the same name amongst those 10 in the same spot.
I want to try not knowing, again, knowing that we don't know yet who you think is the right fit for the Baltimore Ravens. I want to work around what it is that they've done in the last 24 hours and where their biggest needs appear to be, and throw out a couple names to you if I can, and get your thought, hey, would this make sense? And then is there any chance you think that player is still sitting there with the 14th pick? Is that all right?
Love it.
So let me start with the guy that I think everybody was already in love with because of what his freakish abilities were on the field, but then they saw what he did at the Combine, and I'm starting to believe more and more it's not likely that he falls to 14. That, of course, being Jordan Davis from Georgia, as the Ravens right now have very little, and they could still bring back Calais Campbell. There are still things they can do, but they have very little on the defensive line. What do you make of Jordan Davis?
I think that Jordan Davis has increased his profile, not just with the Combine, but I believe the national championship playoffs. Because if you go back to the SEC title game, there were a lot of people saying that Jordan Davis would slide more because you remember how Alabama ran those defensive linemen in that SEC championship game. Everything was sideline to sideline, moving laterally, not able to get upfield, not able to stay on the field. Immediately people pointed out that he plays less than 30% of their snaps, all of those sorts of things. But I think the national championship playoff games, those two, and especially the second one against Alabama, dominant. Looked like he was fit and in shape. He had lost a little weight. Then he comes to the combine. He's at 341 instead of 360. And he blows us away with his athleticism. The question mark always still comes back to, do you believe he is a true pass rushing force down one? Because that's what it's going to boil down to. That's where he lost ground in that first game against Bama. Can we play him multiple downs? And I think that he proved by being in shape, by moving like that, if you buy into him, yeah, he's definitely that guy. But you're not going to find in terms of sack numbers, things of that nature while at Georgia, because one, he was in a rotation, didn't play a whole lot. Two, is he a true pass rushing force inside? Someone's got to believe in that. And that's what it comes down to. Look, he's not Terrence Cody, and Baltimore understands what Terrence Cody looked like. Terrence Cody was a true 1 or 2 down player, run stopper in the middle, give you nothing else. I think Jordan Davis has the ability to give you more than that. So it's going to be an intriguing pick there at 14. And will he still be there? I think the opportunity for him to still be there exists in a big way.
Okay. All right. That's very intriguing to me. Let me go to, and I'll throw out 2 edge rushers that I think are particularly appealing. Jermaine Johnson from Florida State, and then David Ajabo from Michigan, who you add in the connection, of course, with Mike Macdonald and the fact that, Mike Macdonald, arrived at Michigan and figured out exactly how to make David Ajabo work, and I can't shake it, Charles. That's really appealing to me. When you know that a defensive coordinator knows exactly how to use a certain player, that is a really appealing thought to me about what the Ravens might be doing at 14.
Probably even more appealing to you, I would say, than Odafe Oweh last year in the late 20s, right?
Yep, very much so.
Because Ajabo actually got people on the ground at colleges last year, right? I mean, you saw plays happen. Oweh, I thought was a perfect Baltimore pick because you had multiple picks last year, and I think I actually mocked him there at that slot. I got lucky on that one, but it made sense to me that Baltimore would look at that size, speed ratio, the whole thing, say, something, we can do something with that. And boy, did they ever, right? So he's already unlocked it. Ojabo, much more production this last season in terms of numbers we can grasp onto. Similar athlete. Has some connections with Oweh that way.
Yep.
It makes perfect sense. And would he be there at 14? I think absolutely. I don't think there's any question at all. That might actually be a high pick for him. I think you're saying the same thing when you're talking about Jermaine Johnson coming out of Florida State, who had been at Georgia. Big rotation there. Goes to Florida State so he can get more playing time. And by the way, since we're on here, let's explode the myth that he didn't play at Georgia. That was a myth. But they had so many guys, it's the same thing as a Jordan Davis.
Right.
Rotating people.
Yep.
So he played, but he wanted more playing time, got it at Florida State, the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and continues to have a stellar run-up to the draft. So both of them definitely available for you at 14, I believe. I don't think any one of them is going to be plucked before that.
And then the other one, and I think, again, I'll assume that he's available at 14. I don't think that he goes higher than this. But with the Ravens addressing tackle, we have to acknowledge at the moment, they still appear to need a center. Bradley Bozeman could still end up coming back, but, he's not here right now. And Tyler Linderbaum from Iowa seems like the one guy that could be the guy they use that pick with to address it. I think the question goes a different way, Charles. Is that too high? Is that too much of a reach to grab Tyler Linderbaum with the 14th pick?
I don't think so in terms of if that's the guy that you want. I don't think this going too high or taking him beforehand and trying to play the game really works. We've done that for years, and it's a legit thing. Like, can I come back and get this guy later? That sort of a deal. Linderbaum, if you don't get him at 14, I don't think you get him coming back around. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the first thing.
Yep.
The second thing is if you think he's your true plug and play right away, it's not too high to go get him by any stretch of the imagination. He's the best center in college football, and he's a guy that say, hey, if I really desire having that guy and I want to get the best one on the board, he's it. Absolutely. Now, I will give you an intriguing name.
Okay.
That if you want to wait down the road,
okay,
go get a center, and let me find his name here. I had it right in front of me. Offensive lineman from Luke Fortner.
Okay.
Kentucky.
Yep.
He's another guy that you get later on, quote unquote, just a matter of later. Who I think is another guy as another plug and play center coming out of college football.
We're wrapping up Charles Davis NFL Network again. Their free agent frenzy coverage continues today and tomorrow. Charles, is there anybody else, knowing what it is that their needs look like? And look, they could still be the team that decides, Sauce Gardner's sitting there at 14. What the hell are we doing? We're taking a cornerback. Even if we got some, this is the NFL. You need to have cornerbacks. But is there any other name that to you makes a particular amount of sense, given what they've already done and what their needs appear to be moving towards the 14th pick?
Yeah, I think that you're going to have, look, let's say it's not Jordan Davis. What if you like Devontae Wyatt from Georgia better?
Mm-hmm.
He's not as big. Although, isn't it funny to say he's not as big? He's only 304.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Right?
How does he get by? How does he survive at only 304?
I don't know how he survived at 304. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But his numbers are better than Jordan Davis's. Now, I realize there's a 36-pound weight difference. I get all that. But this kid runs, jumps, tests, moves, plays. What if you like him a little bit better? Jordan Davis is a splashy name because of what we saw at the Combine, and understandably so, 341 pounds. That's like something out of NASA. How does something that big get off the ground, right? It just doesn't work. It just doesn't equate in your mind. But Devontae Wyatt's a heck of a player, and he's sitting right there, and he could very well be the guy that they might like a little bit better. So that's the sort of thing that you start running through that exercise, and as you said, you start going. And again, I don't care what position. If that's your guy, I say go get him. And I always fall back on, we don't give Dallas a lot of credit because, the Cowboys, there's no telling what's coming out there, right? But you remember the year they took Travis Frederick at 31?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was a lot
and
of
everyone lost their mind.
Right.
You get him in the third round.
Right. Yeah,
okay.
Worked out okay.
Remember Dwayne Brown when he came out of Virginia Tech? And I think that the Houston Texans, I think they traded back into the first round to get him because there was a run on left tackles. And again, he was another one that many said, you could have got him in the third round. I think that worked really well for them and Seattle later on in his career.
Yep.
So again, if you have conviction on a player and you like him, don't worry about what us knuckleheads are saying about what round you can go get a guy.
Yeah, go get that player.
You're dealing with the reality of who plugs in and plays for my team right now. And there's no way you go too high to get the guy that you want.
I agree with you on all that, as long as that player isn't Jake Locker. I would say I would agree.
Look, I think we all live in that fear, right?
Yeah,
about what we're doing, and that's why I say with quarterbacks this year, and I know Baltimore's not in the quarterback market.
Yep.
But for everyone out there, just remember this, and I think I'll be able to stick to it throughout the draft one. If you take the top 5 quarterbacks that went in the first 15 picks last year, and you grade them coming out into the draft last year, not their rookie season, the same evaluation that you're doing with these quarterbacks this year, there's not a single quarterback in this year's draft who has the mark of the 5th quarterback who went last year.
Sure.
Keep that in mind, okay? When everyone starts getting quarterback needy and desperate and doing all those things, based on evaluation, that's what I think you're going to see across the board with the league. Does that mean someone won't still go get a quarterback? No, because quarterbacks are necessary, need them, and the whole deal. But I don't have a single one with a score that equals the 5th guy last year, which was Mac Jones of Alabama, that in the draft this year that I would take at the top. That's just me.
Chuck, I know I need to let you go. Can I squeeze one last one in with you, just
Sure.
because it's sort of defining for the Ravens offseason at this point and everything going on with this organization? We think that Aaron Rodgers has now reset the quarterback market at $50 million, although we don't know that, right? We still don't know exactly what the number is. Would you have any trepidation at all if you were the Baltimore Ravens in paying, if they do a deal with Lamar Jackson, it being in the $45 to $50 million range per year?
Always have trepidation with that. But the market is reset so many different ways, so many different times. I know if they are committed to playing offense the way that they're playing it with him, then he's their guy. You're not going to get better than him to play offense the way that you're playing it. I mean, it's not going to be better than Lamar Jackson. Carson Wentz got all his money. It didn't work out, but he got his money. Dak Prescott ended up getting his money. If that's your guy, you just got to deal with the money game. But unless you're trying to play offense differently, then Lamar Jackson's the guy.
I completely agree. That's where we are. All right, Charles Davis, who's no longer on Twitter. He's gotten away from the cesspool altogether and has left it for the rest of us. And he said, I have no doubt your life is better for it. I'm guessing mostly draft coverage. That's where we're going to be seeing you on NFL Network in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that'll be the spot. I think past his draft starts April 4th. and we'll be doing that. So I'll be on it a bunch there. And anytime they're crazy enough to let me on air, I'll be on, and I'll be there for the draft in Las Vegas. Looking forward to
Charles Davis, always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Take care now.
Charles Davis, NFL Network, of course, during the season as well with CBS. Appreciate him hopping on with us and spending a moment chatting about the NFL draft and the Ravens in free agency. Today's show is also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy Football. Of course, Underdog Fantasy Football has so many great games for you to play. Basketball, hockey, baseball coming soon. And if you use the code PRESSBOX when you make your first deposit, up to $100, we're going to match it with free money for you to play with. You can't bet on your phone or online just yet in the state of Maryland, but you can play Underdog Fantasy Football and feel like you're betting. Player props, parlays, it's all available. Again, UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy Football app. Of course, we are into March Madness, and our next guest is in March Madness as his Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers are getting ready to play in the first four tomorrow night against Longwood. He is the coach of the Mount St. Mary's women's basketball team. He is Antoine White, and he's with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn and Paul. Congratulations. Thank you so much for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Coach, it's great to catch up with you. I know it's got to be a both stressful and exciting time for you doing this for the first time as a head coach, right? Knowing what you've been doing through the program, does it feel different to you? Did you have a moment where it hit you and it struck you in a different way than as you've been coming up through the system and reaching the tournament as an assistant coach?
It's funny you asked me that. It really hasn't hit me, and I don't even remember our NEC title game, to be honest. Everything is just, it's all moving so fast, and when you're coaching basketball, it's not like football. We got game after game, and we finished up Sunday, and then we found out Sunday night we're playing Longwood, and then next thing you know, 2 hours later, I'm right back to film. So it's so fast paced that it hasn't hit me, but whenever it gets a chance to slow down, I'm sure I'll take it all in.
Yeah, it'll probably, at some point, there's got to be a moment where, you walk out to the floor, you're like, holy crap, I'm really the head coach of a team in the NCAA tournament.
At some point it will. Maybe when we play Longwood tomorrow, that might hit me.
Yeah, it probably will go a long way. Coach,
Yep.
let's go in reverse, right? What did it mean to you to be tabbed to be the head coach? As someone who's still, relatively young in your own career, right?
For sure.
What did it mean to you to have that trust, given the success of the program at Mount St. Mary's, given that a championship standard had been set? What did it mean to you to get the nod to be the head coach of this program? And were you confident when you took over the job that you were going to be able to continue and sustain that championship caliber? Was there any doubt in your mind that this is what your team was going to be capable of accomplishing this season?
Yeah, from day one, ever since I stepped on Mount St. Mary's campus as an intern back in 2016, this was always my goal. I didn't want to be an assistant coach. I knew I had to work and grind my way up to the top, but I always had a dream of running my own program, and the Mount has been so good to me over the years. And the last year or two, it looked like I had an opportunity to take over this program. And Coach Maria did such a fantastic job and flipping around our program, and her and I worked really, really well together. And she told me, she said, listen, Twan, I'm not going to be here forever. And, when I leave, I want you to come with me. She, in a selfish way, she wanted me to come with her. But she said, listen, man, you're ready. And if the Mount feels good about it, then, they'll go ahead and make you the next guy. And Lynn and our administrators had nothing but love and support for me. So it means the world to me, and I just have to continue to do what I've been doing. And that's just coming in every single day, staying true to who I am and continue to work hard.
Of course, Coach, referring to Maria Marchesano, who took the job at IPFW and left that opportunity. And here we are talking about another trip to the NCAA tournament. He's Coach Antoine White from Mount St. Mary's. He's with us here on Glenn Clark Radio. Coach, with all this said, you guys weren't even a 500 team a couple of weeks ago, right? What clicked? What happened down the stretch of the regular season that set you guys up? And I get that part of that is you play a difficult schedule, and that, sometimes it's not fair to hang someone's overall record when you're at a place like Mount St. Mary's. I know you had some tough games at the start of the season, but what clicked down the stretch that set you guys up to be able to make that run in the NEC tournaments?
It's our defense. And I got to give a huge shout out to our defensive coordinator, Dave. He's done a fantastic job with our defensive schemes. And, I moved over. That used to be my role, and I moved over to the offensive end. And I kind of turned into an offensive coach a little bit too much. And just him and I we sat down about a month and a half ago, and we said, listen, we really got to just get back to playing some good, solid defense. And that's why we were able to turn this thing around. We got talented players who know how to score the basketball. For us, we had to be more defensive minded, and that was the turn for us. And for the last month, we've been holding teams to 60 points or less. And with the kind of offensive power that we have, if we can continue to do that tomorrow night, I like our chances.
Do you use being put in the first forward? Does that create like a bit of a chip on the shoulder type of thing? Or do you like to play that up? Is that your style to say, hey, they're doubting us? Are you that type of coach, or is it sort of like, the hell with all that? We just got to go beat Longwood.
No, I am that kind of coach.
Okay.
I definitely look for little things to motivate myself and my team. But, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We're in a small conference, so, we can have a really good season. And with the new play-in style, I just expect us to be in it because of our conference. So that doesn't really bother me. It's a great opportunity for us to go out and get a win and continue to play in this tournament.
You, of course, it's nice when you're trying to take over as a head coach to have a veteran and a solid player like Kendall in order to sort of lead the way for you. What does she mean to this entire program? And I think we've learned a little bit more about her as a person too over the years. But can you speak to, as both a player and as a human, what she's meant to you as you've moved into this role and getting your team back to the NCAA tournaments?
Yeah, KB's special on and off the court, and at this point, it's pretty well documented what she's going through off the court and what her family and what her sister Ella are all going through. And the fact that she can come in here every single day and play hard and be a competitor and be our leader, and she just does it without breaking stride. It just says a lot about her character, and she's so talented, and she earns it though. If you come into our gym on a Tuesday morning, Kendall Breezy is going to be in there, and she's going to be working on her game, and her teammates follow her. She's definitely the rock of this program, and she's a huge reason to why we're here right now.
For those that
she's been leading our defense for the last couple games, so she's a special player.
For those that don't know, Kendall's sister Ella has dealt with a form of brain cancer that's somewhat rare, and she's been a rock for her family. It's an amazing story, and I saw a video that Grace Grail did about it a couple weeks back, and I was just like, wow. Like I am in awe, truly in awe of how remarkable this person is. Coach, give me the name of someone who particularly maybe has exceeded your expectations this season, someone who you didn't know exactly what you had, but without them, there's just no way that you would be in this place right now.
Yeah, I think Jada Lee first comes to mind. Jada Lee is a really, really talented sophomore that we have on our roster. And, Jada's got a lot of experience in front of her. So it was hard for Jada to get on the court last year. So a lot of people didn't know who she was. And going into this season, I knew she would have a bigger role for us. And then next thing you know, we just started to have all these injuries. So Jada Lee really had to step up for us, and she's been playing some good, solid basketball for us. And the thing about her, what she brings to the table, it doesn't always show up in the stat sheet, but she's just all over the place. She makes a lot of winning basketball plays for us. She's very timely with those winning basketball plays. So Jada Lee is somebody I think people need to pay a little bit more attention to, especially moving forward when Kendall leaves and Kayla leaves. That's just going to be more opportunity for Jada Lee to showcase her talent.
That's cool. We're looking forward to seeing her play moving forward. Coach, I'll wrap with this. As you guys get ready for tomorrow night down in Raleigh against Longwood, just finish the sentence for me. We'll move on, and we'll get our shot against NC State if blank. If what?
Our defense shows up. Our defense shows up, and we play with that intensity, and we're locked into the small details of our scout. Longwood, they score it. They're averaging 70 points, and like I said earlier, we've been holding teams to 60 or less. So if our defense shows up, we'll be in pretty good shape.
I like the sounds of that. And as we know, there's a little bit of a history of teams in this area pulling off some pretty big upsets in the NCAA tournaments. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that you guys get the opportunity to make some similar history. Coach Antoine White, so happy for you. Congratulations on getting this first NEC title and NCAA tournament trip as a head coach. May you go shock the world over the course of the next few days, and hopefully we can catch up with you again to talk about some amazing things your team has done. Thank you for taking the time for us, and congratulations again, all right?
Absolutely. Thanks for the kind words.
Coach Antoine White, Mount St. Mary's women's basketball coach. They get ready for Longwood tomorrow night down in Raleigh as part of the first four in the women's tournament, which gets underway tonight. That game tomorrow night, 7 o'clock on ESPN2. If you want to check out the Mount St. Mary's women as they open up their NCAA tournament. All right. Drew Forrester's going to join us for better or for worse when we come back in. We will chat with him about God knows what. That's the way that it works with Forrester. Today's show is also brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel, of course, the best place to be. Not only will Rodney Elliott and I be there on Friday, but keep in mind they have special hours in the FanDuel Sportsbook starting tomorrow morning, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Every day they're open at 9 a.m. and until midnight. And, of course, the 24/7 kiosks are open 24/7. And they've got 61 of those with a few more coming. They have really done everything in their power. We're expecting huge crowds this week. I mean, just massive crowds in the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel. They're doing everything in their power to make it easier for you to get your bets in. Bruce Billick said, get there early tomorrow and Friday. Get your spot. You can still email events at sportssocialmd.com. Like if you have a unique situation, you want to see if you can get a certain group of people, maybe some clients, whatever it is, you can still email them. And when you put your bet in, any bet of $50 or more on any NCAA tournament game, there's going to be a website that you're going to be able to go to, and they'll give you the details when you put your bet in. If you're a Live Rewards member, you'll be able to register that bet, whether it wins or loses, and 10 people are winning $500 bracket bonuses just for putting a bet in. So even if you lose your bet, even if you're like me and you're feeling super confident about South Dakota State and it doesn't go your way, you'll be able to register as a Live Rewards member to win a $500 bracket bonus with our friends at Live Casino and Hotel. Drew Forrester next. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
That first sip. That first bite. Start your day off right with a delicious breakfast at Royal Farms. Choose from a fantastic selection of fresh Royal Farms breakfast sandwiches and top it off with a rich hot cup of the freshest coffee in the world. At Royal Farms, breakfast is available day and night. It's the freshest breakfast in the world. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Sports betting has come to Maryland, and we're ready to help you win some money. Tune in for Simply the Bets with Glenn Clark and Paul Valley every Tuesday morning at 11:40. FanDuel Sportsbook GM Bruce Billick and VSiN's Aaron Oster join the guys every week to give you all of the info you need and even a few winners. So come win some money with us on Simply the Bets every Tuesday at 11:40 a.m. Brought to you by the FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio. Watch at YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline.
Glory Days Grill's St. Patrick's menu is now in full swing, and it's their most popular seasonal menu all year. New in 2022 are their smoky thigh wings with Guinness grilling sauce, a house-made Guinness barbecue sauce. Fan favorites also include their corned beef and cabbage, the shepherd's pie with Guinness braised ground beef, the Glory Days Reuben, and the Rachel. Enjoy a pint of Guinness or Guinness Baltimore Blonde. The St. Patrick's menu is available for the whole month of March. Come in for great food, cold beer, and basketball. Find out more about Glory Days Grill and get your order in online at glorydaysgrill.com.
Baseball is back. I'm Paul Valley.
And I'm Zach Goodman.
You can find us live every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon talking all things Orioles and Major League Baseball.
Like the debuts of Adley Rutschman and Grayson Rodriguez.
And how the rotation and bullpen are rounding into form. Watch us live at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline and Facebook.com/PressBoxSports.
Or you can listen at PressBoxOnline.com/radio.
That's the Bat Around, live with the latest in baseball coverage every Saturday from 10 a.m. to noon.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
We can't imagine why you'd want to, but you can watch GCR live. It's at facebook.com/PressBoxSports. And try to guess whether these guys are wearing any pants.
If you haven't picked up the new print issue of PressBox yet, go do that right now. We celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland's run to the 2002 NCAA Championship. Gary Williams is on the cover. Go get it for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find PressBox. Read it all, PressBoxOnline.com. For better or worse, he is Drew Forrester. Drew'sMorningDish.com is his website, and he joins us now here on GCR. What's going on, man?
Hold on. You caught me in the middle of a bite of apple.
Well, why wouldn't? What do you, performer, professional wrestler Carlito? Like, what is going on over there?
I was having a bite of apple, and you jumped in. Usually you blather on about something for 2 or 3 minutes, and I got time. But anyway.
I normally blather on about something.
Well, you're always talking about sports.
I know. What's wrong with? Of course, and by the way, for what it's worth, this is exactly what I would expect. The Ravens signed 2 players. They did something they almost never do. There's been a boatload of money in free agency. It's a huge day, and I go to Drew'sMorningDish.com, and what was the lead story about today?
Coward Hawk off.
Of course it was.
Opening day. We covered the Ravens. They were below the fold.
They were below the fold. They were the.
To borrow an old newspaper term, back when we used to read newspaper, the Ravens were. My boss, when I was in the soccer business, one of them, because I had 3 or 4, but one of my bosses used to get absolutely apoplectic if we were below the fold.
I mean, by the way, what a world. I think that there are genuinely people that can't believe that you would say there was ever a time where the Baltimore Blast would have been above the fold. But, no, that was really a thing.
If we had a game on a Friday and there wasn't an article in the paper on Thursday, I would get chastised. Not on the game day.
Right.
Thursday, because we wanted to sell tickets.
And I guess we should be fair about this. This was not the Colts had already left at this point, so it was just the Orioles then that would be your competition. Right.
Well, yeah. I mean, they still did cover the NFL, but not. They had a beat writer back then. It was Clark Judge, actually.
Yep.
Clark would go cover, games.
The biggest game of the week or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, they would still send Clark around, right? But in the 80s, when I was the media relations guy, when I was in the mid 80s, it was us and the Orioles. And if our game story was below the fold, you call Jack Gibbons right now and find out what's going on, or Marty Kaiser. I'm like, okay, hey Jack, this is Drew Forrester with the Blast. I'm just kind of wondering what, and then I would, he would rant and rave and, he would be nice about it, but he really wanted to say, like, are you really calling me about this?
Right, seriously.
Like, really?
Seriously. And I'm imagining Tom Valente made a similar call to you this morning about the
yeah,
Ravens.
Right. Is Tom still there?
I think he is. I don't know.
Tom's a good man.
It's been a while since I've gone over, to be honest
Tom's
with you.
a good man. Tom Tom was always one of my favorites.
Okay, I like Tom. He and I were good.
Yeah.
I never had a problem with him.
But anyway, there was a day when below or above the fold mattered.
Very much mattered, no doubt about it. All right, let's talk about what they did. I'm good with all of it. All of it works for me. I still come back to I am not as convinced as everyone else, and I that the actual difference maker defensively for you winning a championship is your secondary. And I talked about this already. The most important play you made a year ago defensively was from your front. The two most significant plays the Rams made in winning a Super Bowl came from your defensive front. I get it that the numbers say the best way for you to build a defense is to build it through your secondary, and I'm not here to try to say I'm smarter than that. To me, this is more about coming down to there's a difference in statistically being a good defense versus the type of things that you have to do defensively in order to win championships. And I look at this roster and say, I don't know that they have the players in their defensive front that can do those things that are necessary, even if I think their secondary is really good right now.
All right. I would say, and here's the thing, right? They're probably sitting over there, and analytically, they're saying, we got to face Burrow twice. We're going to play Josh Allen this year. We're going to play the kid in New England. We're going to play Russell Wilson. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't exactly remember who else. But, Tom Brady, I heard he was good.
Yes, yeah, he's okay.
We're going to play these guys, and therefore, right, all of them have, most of them have, competent wideouts and pass catchers, and the quarterbacks are really good, and we need a good secondary. And to that, you would say, well, of course, right? But all the other pieces, this is a little bit reminds me of the quote from Bull Durham, right? Don't think, meet, just pitch. Like, you guys don't overthink this. I realize you want to go get secondary players that are going to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Jamar Chase and these other guys. But like you said, you also need somebody on the edge. You also need somebody to fill in for Brandon Williams. I would remind you, every time Brandon Williams didn't play,
you got gashed,
run over.
Gashed against, and
you got run over. And when he did play, they didn't run over you.
Yep.
And like you can go argue that all you want, but I would advise you to go look at the data. When he missed games because of injury in the last 2 or 3 years, you got run over.
Yep. That's a fact. Which isn't me saying it's not me saying that you should be paying a boatload of money for a run stopper, but like you need to stop the run.
Right.
You got to figure out a way to stop it somehow.
Right.
Because
you can't ignore when he missed that Browns game that 1 year. Chubb is still running in the harbor.
I mean, he could have run for 700 yards that day. For God's sake.
So like, I get it. I know. I see this kid, the Saints kid. Everybody says great pick. Awesome. I mean, great signing. Awesome. I love it. I also know that he's one bad step away in August from not playing for the whole year, just like the kid that Peters, right?
Yeah,
you can build your whole team around it,
right?
But you better have 11 good players.
Well, but we can say that about any player, right? So
sure.
That part doesn't get moved. And at some point, you got to be willing to pay money. I again, in a vacuum, I like the idea that the Ravens are willing to pay legitimate money in order to get a player that they believe is a difference maker.
Who, by the way, is young and still has.
Yes.
I don't know. He's in this July of his career. I mean, he's got plenty of tread left.
Yeah,
right?
He might still be in the June of his career. I
mean,
it might be in the.
Right.
He's very young, and it's
right.
it's relevant that he does something in playing the ball that you haven't been good at. You have not been good at getting turnovers of late.
Right.
So I like everything about it. It just concerns me. Let's say this is good enough to get you in games. And the argument against what I said about the biggest plays is, well, if you don't have a strong secondary, you're just going to get your ass kicked. You're not going to be in games long enough in order to have a chance to make plays at the end. That's fair. I still come back to, do you look at this front seven and say, if a game is on the line and you need to make a play, that you believe there's someone right now that you can count on is going to go make that play for you? And I don't see that. And you can say, well, we're going to find that guy in the draft. I hope so. I hope
well,
that's the case.
They did find for the first, I don't know, 6 weeks, and I could be off a week here or there.
Right.
For the first 5 or 6 weeks last year,
he looked like he could be
the
He looked like he could be the guy. Sure.
100%. Then he kind of disappeared. But if you go out and add pieces on the other side, or add a couple of interior guys that are, and to their credit or in their defense, I guess they thought they were doing that, right, with Ferguson and some of the other interior guys. but none of those guys have really panned out. But again, maybe in a year they do. Everybody had really high hopes for Ferguson. He didn't do a whole lot, right? So I get it. You got to draft them or get them somehow. But the run is very important.
He is Drew Forrester, drewsmorningdish.com. He's with us here on GCR.
And the other guy is going to be, Huntley's going to need some help.
Yeah,
right?
Huntley, yeah, sure. That's your guy. That's your guy.
Huntley's going to need some protection.
Huntley's going to need some help. Huntley's going to need the help.
It's starting to get almost, I don't even know if I want to say laughable, because it's not laughable, but it's almost weird now that they don't have there's nothing going on with Lamar. It's almost like no one's willing to say what we're all fearing.
I don't know
right?
They say I still will
You
come
don't
back
really
to,
know what's going on.
No, I have
right?
no clue. Of course, I have no clue what's going on.
That's the thing. I think that's that's sort of what scares us. I think you and I said this last week.
Right.
Like, you guys aren't really thinking about maybe not keeping Lamar.
And there's only one reasonable deduction that can be made, and even that, like, if you try to figure out how do you get to a place like this, I keep trying to do this. How are they here? And if the answer when we keep
Did you watch the games from '96 to 2008?
Yeah, right.
Like,
by the way, we talked about this. We talked about this with Baker Mayfield earlier, and I compared it to Joe Flacco. I said nobody in Baltimore thought Joe Flacco was the best quarterback in football. We just all knew what happened before Joe Flacco got
he was better than anything we had.
And so there was no consternation from
five.
any of us about the idea of signing Joe. If Joe Flacco, if they had lost the Super Bowl, if Michael Crabtree catches a touchdown at the end of the game, they lose the Super Bowl. No reasonable person in Baltimore was going to say, well, you can't pay Joe Flacco now. We all understood. And it's the same scenario that's playing out in Cleveland that nobody wants to talk about, which is we can make fun of Baker Mayfield for his acting like a 12-year-old girl on Twitter last night and laying his heart out there. But there are people in Cleveland who are sitting there saying to themselves, if we don't get Deshaun Watson, what the F are we doing? Because we know what it's like to not have a quarterback.
Right.
And you can say Baker Mayfield ain't worth this amount of money, but you don't get to decide that. The Colts get to decide that because they literally don't have a quarterback on their roster right now.
Right.
And would be desperate to get a quarterback. So
and a guy who is competent.
Yes.
You're not talking about a bum.
No.
He's decent.
Yes.
Maybe he shouldn't have been the first pick, but he's decent.
Kirk Cousins just got $35 million for this season.
Right.
Kirk Cousins got $35 million.
Right. You might as well have given me 10.
I mean, this is the world that we live in now. So I get the weirdness of what's going on in Cleveland right now. Like
but it goes back to the same with the Ravens. Like, given all of that, and you're pretty much a dummy from Perry Hall, and I'm a dummy from Glen Burnie.
Right.
Like, given that, how do you all not have this sewed up?
Right.
Unless
there's some world in which you've decided you're not going to do it. But
or there's somewhere where Lamar has said, you know what I think I'll do? I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to try to run this thing up as far as I can, cash out, and I'll go sign with the Raiders for $400 million.
But what makes no sense about that?
And I don't know that's happening, obviously.
Right. Your scenario is plausible, and I keep coming back to this. The part of it that makes no sense is there no reason why you can't cash out now. There's no reason why if the Ravens aren't willing to pay you that top dollar, you don't walk in and say, good, trade me. Because as I just said, the Colts literally don't have a quarterback on their roster.
Right.
Even with Deshaun Watson part of the equation, even with Tom Brady back, there's still 6 teams in the NFL that are desperate, that have nothing at all at quarterback. And if the Ravens are sitting there saying, look, man, we're just not willing to pay you the $50 million for whatever reason. Either they're trying to play the game of let's wait it out, let's deal with this again in a year, or even the Lamar side where he's saying, I want to run the number up. The number can be run up. There is a team that desperately needs a quarterback that would be happy to give you the money. Why wouldn't you demand a trade to that team right now?
It feels like it was about 2 years ago where quarterbacks made $20 million.
It wasn't 2 years ago, but it wasn't, I hear you, right? Like, right. I hear you.
It feels like it wasn't that long ago where these guys only made $20 or $25 million, and we were like aghast at that.
Well,
like, oh my God!
What was the Flacco number in 2013?
125 for 6 years.
Yeah, so I mean, like it's been like we got in the 20 million range 10 years ago. You know, like it's been a while, but I get it. I get it.
But
The
now
numbers,
it's 50.
the numbers crazy. They're absolutely insane at this point. But there's nothing you can do about that. I keep when we have these conversations, there continue to be people who try to say he's not worth that amount of money because they're trying to gauge it against Patrick Mahomes or against Josh Allen and say, well, if that's what this guy's worth, you're only worth this. And they've just lost touch. There isn't a Patrick Mahomes number or a Josh Allen number. There's a quarterback number. And either you have a quarterback or you don't. It's just that simple. And if you want to not have a quarterback, okay, like we'll talk. I think it's badass insane to live in a world where you don't have a quarterback because you can end up with Sam Darnold, and you can end up with Daniel Jones, and you can end up with trading picks to go move up for the guy that you think is the guy, only to have that guy not be the guy. You got a guy. This is the way what it costs. Just get it the F done already. What are we doing?
We saw this play out ourselves when one of the esteemed TV broadcasters in town thought that someone else was making more money than him at the old radio
yes, that's
station.
right. That's right. We did.
And he immediately went in and demanded more than that guy.
What the hell? What is?
And then I got yelled at.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, you were a bit of an instigator. I'm not sure. You were a bit of an instigator.
Did you tell blank that Brent Harris made $900 doing this show? Like, I didn't tell him that, but he might have overheard it.
So I got two things for you. One, what is the update on your proposed boycott of the Orioles? You said that you were going to threaten to only go to one game.
If they didn't play 162 games.
So you're good now that they're playing 162?
Yeah. I mean, if they play the season, I always said that. If they don't play the whole season, I'm going to go to – it wasn't a boycott. It's just when I felt like – I'm not going to go down there and do this if you guys are going to play 90 games or 100 games and leave us without baseball until July the 1st or June the 10th or whatever.
So you're good.
I'll go.
Even if they don't have, and they're almost certainly not.
Hot. I don't go until it's hot.
What?
I do not go to baseball games till it's hot. Like opening day, I don't even know what's that, a Monday? I think we're playing that Monday.
Yeah.
But like I don't like April and May baseball at all. Like, I don't go until it's nice.
You prefer to be sweating your ass off sitting on the first base line on a Sunday afternoon?
The weather in May is so good
I don't go to
baseball.
day games either.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. All right. So you only go to night. But I've been to some night games in the summer.
I go to night summer games. I do not go to day games, and I don't go in April or May.
I've definitely been to night games in the summer where they had to give out ice chips throughout.
And football, by the way, I only go if it's between 57 and 72.
I'll come back to. This is why any city that builds a stadium that doesn't have a roof is insane.
No question.
You're insane.
No doubt.
There should not be a stadium that's built without a roof at this point.
The Chargers game, when it was 72 degrees on like January the 9th, was the greatest. I'm up there in my short sleeves and a pair of jeans, like watching football in January.
10 and a half, man. But I am with you on that. I am definitely in that group. And I mean, look, it's going to take a lot to get me to go to an NFL game of any sort at this point because I'm just out on all the drunks and the whole – like I'm just out on it.
Right.
And it's not really a good experience, right? Like I'm missing things when I sit and watch the game.
You saying I'm out on all the drunks is definitely an odd thing to hear from
What
you.
a funny way that life has turned for me.
Right.
I was the problem.
right. Correct. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to go. I'm
Drew
excited
came up
to go.
This is a funny story. One time I was at a Ravens Steelers game, and we had a partner with one of the beer companies, and they invited me to come watch the game from
you went to that
the flight
corner
deck.
thing. Matt Crow invited you.
Yeah, it's exactly what it was. Matt Crow said, "Why don't you come up and hang out and watch the game from the flight deck?" And so I text Drew. I said, "Come out and hang out. I'm in the flight deck."
Yeah, right. I went up there and you were like immobile.
And the next day I said, "Drew, why didn't you come by and see me?" He said, "I did."
Yeah, second quarter I was there. You don't remember.
I said, "Oh." He said, "Yeah, I stopped by." I don't remember any of that.
You were up there.
None of it. I was up there.
So to speak. Right.
Hey, the other thing I wanted to run by both you guys, a big concert that was just announced is coming to UMBC. I wanted to see how excited you were for it. They just announced Limp Bizkit is playing the Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. So we're gonna take a show field trip, right? We're all
No,
down.
they're not.
Did you know this before you made your Nookie reference?
I did not.
Earlier in the
I
show?
did not. Ironically, I
That's
had no idea. I got
man.
an email during the show. You down, Paul? You gonna?
There's no way.
No, I can't.
Okay, good news. We've just decided what it is that Paul has to do in order to pay off his bet for Major League Baseball. You're going to have to go to the Limp Bizkit show. I'm so sorry.
When is this show?
I'll look up the date. You're going to have to go. I had to go see Smash Mouth once upon a time, and I had to suffer through that.
Smash
Am I going to be
Mouth.
like one of 80
Smash
people
Mouth.
there?
Smash Mouth is Aerosmith compared to
No,
Limp Bizkit.
no. Don't say things that you're going to regret later. No.
Dude,
don't do
Smash
that.
Mouth has 3 or 4 almost good songs.
Does Drew have to come with me?
No,
since
Drew
he's,
doesn't have to do anything.
Since he finished
Drew doesn't
second.
have to do it.
No, you were the loser. It was only
You
about
gotta go to
losing.
You got to go see Fred Durst.
He's
still with the band?
Sunday. How would I know? How would I know if Fred Durst is still in the band?
Oh, right. I forgot. You don't like them anymore.
Sunday, May 15th, they're playing the
that's perfect.
Chesapeake Employers Insurance Arena. Is that Mother's Day? What a lovely way to should invite your mom.
Yeah, that'll be funny, Mom. We're going to go to a show. That's nice. Who is it, Tony Bennett? No, actually, Mom, it's Limp
Bizkit.
Who's playing with them?
I'm not familiar with these acts. Snot with a $sign, Wargasm, and Scowl. But if
this sounds like I can't miss.
If I'm being honest, these sound like the names of the bands that would be opening for Limp Bizkit. I'm not gonna lie about that. I had to go see Smash Mouth once upon a time, which I still get PTSD about. I don't know if you guys saw a very funny video I shared yesterday that my buddy bought me of Lori Beth Denberg reading the lyrics of All Star to me, which is very funny.
I think I actually have a friend that would go with me.
You have to go. You got to take videos. You can't this is the legit thing.
It's the whole show or just for Limp Bizkit?
You got to go for. Well, you don't have to go see the openers. I don't care about that.
Okay.
But you got to stay for 80% of the show was the rule that we made.
Oh my gosh!
Like you got to stay until they go to the encore.
Until they play 2 good songs. Well, then
you're not gonna. You're gonna be there for weeks.
When I was 15, I liked Limp Bizkit.
Well, because you were 15.
Well, there you go. Perfect.
Now you've got to go see the Limp Bizkit. This is the part that makes it worse.
Here's the funny part.
You have to pay your own American dollars.
Oh yeah.
Listen, no.
I get it.
Glenn, here's the funny part. He already has tickets.
Right. Well, that's why. Hang on, I set it up the way that I set it up just to try to get an honest answer from him. I was hoping.
He's just playing along. He's already got third row.
I actually have 2 friends who I think one guy would go
There
because he
you
would
go.
genuinely
There
be
you
interested.
go.
Another
There we
guy would
go.
go because he would think it would be hilarious.
You have to shoot videos. You have to do social stuff. You have to take we've got to have documentation that you were legitimately there, and you got to turn around and put your face in the video so we know you didn't just give your phone to somebody else or give your account to somebody else. There's got to be documented proof that you were at the Limp Bizkit show suffering. It's the greatest content I ever did. The guy from Smash Mouth and I ended up tweeting to each other back and forth for 2 weeks. You've got to go to the Limp Bizkit show to pay off your penance for the baseball.
I love it.
All right?
This is actually a really good punishment.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
This is a really good punishment.
It's a form of torture. It's legitimately.
Yeah, this is going to be awful.
It's mental warfare that I'm going to put you through when you go to the Limp Bizkit show. So there's that.
My God. What if it's awesome?
There's
no way in God's green earth that it's going to be awesome. But what if somehow it's awesome?
I think even saying that sentence concerns me, Paul. I got to be honest with you.
That you should be punished for that.
What if VH1 do the most awesomely bad songs of all time? It's so bad that it's awesome. I have a good time because it's so terrible.
People don't understand. When I had to go to that Smash Mouth show, I get the douche chills. I get the it's not just the band. It's all of the people that are there that willfully spent their money to spend a Saturday evening, or in your case, a Sunday evening, doing this. And it literally gave me chills.
At least they'll all
because
be
it
my
made me
age.
so uncomfortable. Yeah, they'll probably all be about your.
Yeah,
I don't think
everybody will be 50. That's right.
50. That's
easy over
that's exactly how old
easy
I am. How did you know?
Sorry.
Easy over there. I don't know if you're the guy that should be making old jokes, Forrester. I don't know. I don't know if you're the one.
That's
all right.
true.
Would You Rather Wednesday is brought to you by Glory Days Grill. At Glory Days Grill, they got the St. Patrick's menu. It includes the smoky thigh wings with the Guinness grilling sauce, the shepherd's pie with the Guinness braised beef, the Reuben, the Rachel, and so much more. GloryDaysGrill.com is the website. I can think of few better ways to spend the next 4 days than camped out, hanging out with the Glory Days smoky thigh wings and ribs, watching basketball. That sounds pretty glorious to me. GloryDaysGrill.com. Number one, would you rather the Ravens are going to make one more significant move in the first wave of free agency? Would you rather it be them bringing back Calais Campbell or signing former Browns center J.C. Treader?
I'll take the center.
Okay. Why? You have a thought, or you're just going to?
I don't like Calais Campbell at all, actually.
Okay, there you go. Was it a personal thing? Did he do something?
Yeah, I bumped into him at a store and asked him for an autograph, and no, I'm kidding.
Dynamite
I'll take the center.
All right,
we need the center. Hey, Bozeman's gone, which I assume he is.
Yeah, I'm working on this. Although the only thing that's mitigating for this, and I've gotten this response a few times, is like if Ronnie Stanley is back and Morgan Moses is playing right tackle, Patrick McCary plays somewhere. So there is the scenario by which, like, it's a great problem to have because somebody's going to get hurt, but you actually end up having too many guys, whereas I look on the defensive line and you don't have any guys right now. So it's a weird feeling where I get why everybody's saying give me the center, but at the same time, right, like, I don't know, Patrick, if Ronnie Stanley's back and Morgan Moses is playing right tackle, what are you doing with Patrick McCary if you sign a center?
Okay.
Didn't he struggle mightily when he played center?
Not mightily. You're thinking of Skura. Skura struggled
I thought they both
mightily.
kind of struggled.
He had a couple of issues, but he was fine. Yeah. He was fine.
Well, they paid him, so
they better
use him.
Exactly right. They paid him real money. Number two, would you rather? You have won a bracket. Do you even still do bracket contests at this point? Or you?
No, I have Texas Tech beating Villanova in the final. That's all I did.
All right. I need you to sign up for ours because it's a charity thing. I need you to get your 20. It's $20. Get it in. Money's going to show your soft side. I need you to participate. Deal with it. All right. Deal with it. Need you to do that. But congratulations. You've won a very specific bracket contest in which you get your choice of one of two prizes. You can either win $25,000 or you can get to go on the next Blue Origin flight to space.
I think I'll take the money.
Okay. And number three, would you rather the Browns indeed end up giving a king's ransom and landing Deshaun Watson, or the Falcons get Deshaun Watson and then send Matt Ryan to Pittsburgh for next to nothing?
That's fine. I'm not even. I think Watson's overrated personally. So I don't really care who gets him. But Matt Ryan in Pittsburgh would be awesome.
Why?
Because he's no good either.
Yeah, I disagree. We're going to talk about that more. All right, what's going on at Drew'sMorningDish.com?
For tomorrow?
For anything, Drew. Anything at all. Plug something. Just tell us about Drew'sMorningDish.com.
We're writing about sports. We're getting very excited about the U.S. World Cup. Getting very excited and nervous about the World Cup, although it looks like Gio Reyna's going to play again.
Well, that's good news.
Which is good. And, just wait to see what number Correa is going to wear for the Orioles.
Sure. We just continue to hold our breath about that.
He's not signed yet anywhere.
That's true. You're right about that. All right. Drew'sMorningDish.com, at It's a Hooded Fry on Twitter. That's how you follow him. Appreciate you, pal. Thank you.
Okay, boys. See you soon.
Drew Forrester checking in with us. All right. Hello. Yep, there we go. Would you rather Wednesday? Number one, would you rather J.C. Treader or Calais Campbell?
Calais Campbell.
Okay. Why?
I think what you said is very valid about Macari and having more depth on the offensive line. Plus, I'm still holding out hope that somehow Bradley Bozeman ends up back here.
Yeah, I'm not really holding out hope about that.
It's like my hope with Carlos Correa.
And what I'm saying is I'm ruling that out in the way that I worded the question. There's one more move in the first wave of free agency. That's it.
One more move.
So it's either
Calais Campbell. You've got more depth. I still think you need more depth on the offensive line, but you've got more depth than you do on the defensive line. So I'm taking.
Yeah, I'm in a weird place with this one, right? Because like there is also the flip side argument of like neither one is necessarily a long-term option, but J.C. Treader is probably around for a little bit longer than Calais Campbell would be at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So you do factor that into the equation. I'm nervous about the front seven, man. I can't shake that. It's weird how nobody's really talking about it. It's almost eerie to me. It's like when we used to not talk about how there were no wide receivers, and like back in like 2010. I would come on the radio on a Monday afternoon, and I'd be like, are we going to talk about how they don't have anybody to throw the ball to, or are we just going to pretend like that's not a thing?
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this weird place, and maybe I'm doing the math wrong. It would have been like once Bolden was gone, I was like, are we going to talk?
2013, yeah.
Are we going to talk about this? Like, are we going to have a conversation, or are we just all going to continue to pretend like the Ravens do everything right, so everything's just going to be fine? Like, I remember just having those feelings. Like, why are we all in agreement to not talk about the front seven? Because it's not anyone trying to defend it. It's no one trying to sell the idea that the Ravens' front seven is fine. It's just this sort of agreement that we're going to choose to be excited about Marcus Williams and not discuss the other thing. And again, I every time I say it, I acknowledge there's still more free agency to go, and there's still the NFL draft. And it might be that by the time we get to June, I feel somewhat differently about it. But I look at it right now and say, we got to talk about this. Like, we got to have a conversation. There's next to nothing on the defensive line right now. There is still no one that we are confident about in their ability as a pass rusher. And by the way, there was also a reason why we all wanted Bobby Wagner to come play here. Like, tell me where you're feeling good. And your answer could be, well, Tyus Bowser. And I feel good about Tyus Bowser. If he plays, if he's ready to go for the season, I feel good about him. I think Justin Madubuike can take on a bigger role, but we got to be honest about that. He's limited. The idea Peter King a couple years ago, I think, threw everybody when he had Justin Madubuike third on his list of dark horse defensive player of the year candidates in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And it really screwed with the entire Ravens fan base because Peter King is such a respected NFL writer that I feel like everybody in the Ravens fan base was like, well, this is proof that Justin Madubuike is Aaron Donald light. And I was like, wait. I remember Kyle coming on here one morning and saying, well, I think he can have 10 sacks this season. I'm like, what in the F are we talking about? What is going on? I like Justin Madubuike. I think he's a fine player that can help, but we've got enough of a sample size to know what he's not. He's not a game changer. He's a fine football player. Good to have fine football players.
You need people around him.
You need game changers. They don't seem to have who's their game changer in the entirety of their front seven? We're just not talking about it. We just kind of all agreed to get together and let's just be positive. Let's just be positive. Let's just talk about the good things. And I get it. We can do both things. I can both like Marcus Williams and in a vacuum think it's a good signing and still sort of say, hey, but what exactly are you doing up front?
I think
what's going on there?
I think maybe people are quiet about it because if we know this, there's no way that EDC doesn't know about it. So maybe he's you said, free agency, still a lot to go with that.
Yes, except for the fact that they've made it very clear over the last couple of years they're prioritizing the secondary over the front seven. Mm-hmm. So to what level are they prioritizing the secondary over the front seven? Is it we're just going to stick guys out there and whoever we got, we'll hope for the best, and as long as we got a good secondary, we believe that's good enough in order to make this work? Or I just don't know. I don't know. It's just a weird conversation we're avoiding. And because of it, I think I'm getting mostly Treader back from everybody. Mm-hmm. But because of it, I think there is a relevant conversation to be had about Calais Campbell. And I probably would end up leaning that way in the moment. In the moment, I'd be leaning that way.
Ask me in 2 months.
Right. Next, would you rather? You win this bracket contest. You can either get $25,000 or you can go to space.
$25,000. Without a second's thought, one of my most irrational fears is getting lost in space.
What?
I said it's a really irrational fear.
It's a really irrational fear.
Right. Not to mention rockets exploding on launch or on coming back into the Earth's atmosphere.
It's been a really long time since something like that has happened.
But it still happens, right?
It doesn't happen. It's been a really long time since something like that has happened.
I'm not taking any chances. I can do a lot with $25,000. Just give me $25,000.
I'm almost blown away. I said it at $25,000 because I said to myself, well, if I said it at anything larger than that, everybody's going to have to take the cash. If I said it at less than $25,000, I feel like I'm starting to wonder if I had set the number at $10,000, it still might have been that everybody would have just said, give me the $10,000. And maybe that speaks to everybody in our audience has no money. I don't know. I'm not sure what that speaks to. Because do you know what it costs to get on one of these flights to go to space?
$200,000.
It ain't $25,000. The cheap ones, the one that Virgin is doing, are $500,000. The Tesla ones, the Elon Musk, the Blue Origin ones, seven figures is where it begins. And I'm not even sure that, I think if I saw right, because they won't confirm it, but some of the various reporting has been the the people that are known to have paid, the numbers begin at $2.8 million. I get the $25,000 is a lot of money, but it ain't life-changing money.
If you can guarantee me my safe return, it changes. But you can't.
I mean, I can't guarantee your safe return when you get in your car this afternoon. Are you going to get in your car? I couldn't guarantee my safe return when I jumped out of a plane with the Army Golden Knights last fall, but I still did it. I couldn't guarantee my safe return. Wait, can I guarantee your safe return when you flew to Florida?
No, I can't guarantee my safe return when going to that Limp Bizkit concert.
100%. I cannot guarantee. There have been terrible things that have happened at Limp Bizkit concerts. You remember Woodstock 99? That could occur again.
What happens if I get stabbed in the kidney at this Limp Bizkit
Sorry,
concert?
bro. I don't know if you read the fine print on the ticket. You accept all risks.
I'm forced to accept all these risks.
I remember going to some Ozfests back in the day, and like I tried to. There was one concert that I went to in my life where I was like, I'm looking around and feeling to myself, I am not very comfortable here. I am not. Like, even I would go see like Seven Dust, and I would hop in the mosh pit, and I wouldn't care, and I would do the whole thing. I remember going to I want to say I went to an Ozfest that was Ozzy, Korn, Marilyn Manson, Disturbed, and Chevelle. Like, those were the headliners. And looking back on it, I'm like, why did I show up before Ozzy? And the answer was because I actually really liked Chevelle. I really loved Chevelle. I was all in on the band Chevelle.
Randomly seen Chevelle like 4 or 5 times because they were just happened to be part of the show that I was going to.
I think I saw Chevelle 20 times. Like, it's just so random. I remember them playing a free show downtown once. I mean, like, all these various places that I saw Chevelle over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back on it, I had, at that point, convinced myself that I think somebody gave me tickets is the reason why I went. But I convinced myself I had to show up to see Chevelle. And Chevelle, they were the first act on the main stage. And then it was Disturbed, Korn, and Marilyn Manson. And I had zero interest in any of the rest of the show. None. Until we got to Ozzy. And so it was just a miserable, 4 hours of waiting around. Now, that being said, and I know he's a terrible person, and I do not encourage, the shame of it is, much like Kevin Spacey is a terrible person but was a good actor, Marilyn Manson put on a hell of a show. Like, the entertainment value of the show itself was high.
Marilyn Manson's a terrible person.
Yeah, he's a wretched, awful.
I don't know anything about. I know his music. I don't know anything about him.
No. I can't believe you've avoided this somehow. It's been a pretty big story.
I mean,
I would do a simple Google search and get your answers about Marilyn Manson.
Okay.
He is a
Is it Lost Prophets territory?
No, but it's like just search Marilyn Manson. You'll get your answers.
My first concert ever was Disturbed and Korn.
I would have passed. I would have said thank you, but no thank you.
I've seen Disturbed 6 times. I used to really, really like Disturbed.
I saw him at like an HF festival, and that's all I ever needed. I was good. I got down with the sickness the way everybody else did. I did the wah bit, right? Mm-hmm. And then I realized there was nothing more there.
I really enjoyed
that was the extent of it.
Really enjoyed their
were
first 2 albums, but everything since then not the same.
But overwhelmingly, I'm getting the cash, which, honest to God, makes me think that the number, if it had been $10,000, you guys would have taken the cash anyway. That you guys, for whatever reason, just have no interest. I can't believe how many people have no interest in going to space. My God, to be able to see something, experience something that so few people have ever had the opportunity to do. Everybody on the planet can go skydiving, but yet that experience for me was incredible. Was absolutely unbelievable. I can't fathom. Like, the number would have to be more than 25,000. Although it would be tricky. There is the problematic part where, like, if I told my wife that I passed on $25,000 in favor of going to space, that probably wouldn't go over well. She'd probably be quite angry at me about that decision-making process. But
you can't take space with you. You can't take $25,000 with you either.
Correct.
So.
I mean, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
It can't. Your point would be it can't help anyone else.
Yeah.
Which actually I don't think has been proven to be true because these things are still so rare that I think like whatever you take up on the spaceship with you, you're able to like sell on eBay because people are obsessed with space, and like you're allowed to take personal items up, and then you can sell them because they've been in space. And there is still such an obsession with space that it's a big deal to people to buy things off of eBay that have been in space.
Have we learned nothing from Gravity, Mission to Mars, Interstellar? We know what can go wrong.
What is your obsession? It's so weird, your obsession with this.
It's a terrifying concept.
You know there have been far more plane crashes than there have been incidents in space, correct?
Yeah, but there have been far more
plane.
I understand.
Plane rides.
I understand. But the notion that like there's some higher percentage of risk for one of these space flights.
It's not that there's a higher percentage of risk. It's that the risk, what happens with the risk, is so much more terrifying to me.
All right. And then number 3, would you rather Deshaun Watson to Cleveland or Matt Ryan to Pittsburgh?
Matt Ryan to Pittsburgh. Matt Ryan's career is winding down. Deshaun Watson's still really good.
This feels exactly to me like the mistake that people might have made about Matt Stafford. The idea that Matt Ryan is done is nonsense. I get it. We've all had our jokes and we've all had our laughs about Matt Ryan over the years because he blew a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, but Matt Ryan's been a consistently damn good quarterback throughout the course of his career. Deshaun Watson can go to Cleveland and it's still Cleveland, and they still have plenty of problems, and particularly, as a couple people brought up, if they give up all their draft picks, it's going to be very difficult for them to put the roster together. Matt Ryan, Pittsburgh had no quarterback play a year ago, negative quarterback play, and was still a threat.
Still got to the playoffs.
Give them any level of competent quarterback play, any level at all, and they are dangerous.
Yeah, but I mean, Joe Burrow went to Cincinnati, and the Bengals aren't still the Bengals. I
understand that argument. I get that, but they also had other high draft picks, and were taking those away from the Cleveland Browns in order to go get a Jamar Chase to line up with Joe Burrow, which isn't to say that Joe Burrow wouldn't still be a good quarterback, but Joe Burrow was a wildly different quarterback when suddenly he looked around and he had a Jamar Chase to throw the football to.
Yeah.
I like Amari Cooper. He's a fine player, but he ain't Jamar Chase. It ain't close at this point between those things.
Yeah.
You're taking away those top picks. You're saying you're not going to have them for a long time. I'm not messing with it. The Browns will be the Browns, will be the Browns, will be the Browns until proven otherwise. Given the Steelers' competent quarterback play is something I will never, ever be in favor of. Continue to get me your responses at Glenn Clark Radio on Twitter. Somebody's winning a $25 gift card to Glory Days Grill. We'll come back in. Tidbit, two-bit, or wind it down. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Sports fans, the wait is over. The all-new FanDuel Sportsbook is now open at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover, Maryland. This is your chance to win big right in your own backyard. Bet on every sport with self-service kiosks and watch all of the action from the best seat in the house. Make every moment more at the all-new FanDuel Sportsbook at Live Casino and Hotel in Hanover. Please play responsibly. Gambling problem? Please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit mdgamblinghelp.org.
The newest edition of PressBox is available now. On the cover, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Maryland men's basketball's 2002 NCAA Tournament Championship, as Gary Williams reflects on how the program rose from the ashes of NCAA sanctions to the pinnacle of the sport, and why his perspective of the title run has changed now 2 decades later. Plus, Juan Dixon, Lonnie Baxter, and the rest of the team relive the moments that ultimately led them to cutting down the nets in Atlanta. PressBox is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores. And you can always find the entire edition, as well as the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Answering Baltimore's calls for help, running in when others run away, working together toward one shared vision for a thriving city. That's your Baltimore Police. But the department needs more good people, people like you. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore Police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The biggest pro wrestling stars today and all time all have one thing in common. You've heard them on Jobbing Out.
Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks.
Thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
The great Kurt Angle.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Matt Riddle.
Yeah, man. Thanks, man.
The champ, Drew McIntyre.
Oh, thank you for having me.
The great Ron Simmons.
Damn.
Keith Lee.
Appreciate you guys having me, man.
Bill Goldberg.
My pleasure.
Charlotte.
Thank you so much for having me.
Mick Foley is with us.
This is the greatest name for a wrestling show I've ever heard.
MJF.
I'm glad you're happy I'm on this show because I'm freaking miserable.
Le champion.
Chris Jericho.
Le champion.
AJ, Aaron, Brandon, and Glenn are talking pro wrestling every week on Jobbing Out. Find it at PressBoxOnline.com/radio, iTunes, and SoundCloud.
Stay tuned. Your chance to win $1 million is coming up. Probably not from us. You're listening to Glenn Clark Radio.
All right, winding down for a Would You Rather Wednesday edition of the program. Today's show has also been brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today. Tidbit brought to you by the Baltimore Police Department. Join a proud new generation of Baltimore police and make an active difference in your community. Start with competitive wages and excellent benefits on day one. Join for good at bpdrecruit.org.
Yesterday, the Ravens made arguably their biggest free agent splash since signing Mark Ingram and Earl Thomas prior to the 2019 season, when they signed safety Marcus Williams for 5 years, $70 million, and right tackle Morgan Moses for 3 years at $15 million. The signing of Williams gives the team the elite playmaker at safety they've sorely been missing the last several years, and the signing of Moses, who has started 16 games for 7 straight seasons, will help solidify a depleted offensive line. The two signings also give the Ravens 8 players with a base salary of at least $5 million in 2022 before any restructures, of course. Who are the other 6 players? Keep in mind, this is a base salary, not cap hit.
Say that one more time.
So the two signings gives the Ravens 8 players with a base salary of at least $5 million.
That's the number that I was trying to find out.
In 2022, not cap hit, base salary.
Base salary, not cap hit, base salary. I just looked at, the funny thing is I just looked at the chart not that long ago. All right, so Lamar Jackson.
Yep, he's number 1, $23 million.
God, it's so funny to try to remember. Oh, Marlon Humphrey.
Marlon Humphrey's number 2, tied for number 2, $10 million.
Ronnie Stanley.
Ronnie Stanley is 4th.
Oh, who's
3rd? $9.5 million.
Marcus Peters.
Marcus Peters is tied for 2nd, which is 3rd technically, $10 million. You have 2 left.
Right. So yeah, those are the obvious ones. God, it's gonna drive me nuts because I know I just looked at this. Oh, well, no, I don't remember if his money. Oh God. Mark Andrews.
No, $3.5 million.
Yeah. It goes back into that cap hit versus base salary conversation that we were having.
Yeah.
Kevin Zeitler.
Kevin Zeitler is 5th at $6 million. One more.
I actually don't know. I don't think it's Justin Tucker.
It's not 3.5.
I don't think it's Tyus Bowser. I think his
It's not $3 million.
Nick Boyle?
Nick Boyle,
Okay.
$5 million. He is 6.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Hey, you need to know the risks. I know we talk a lot about gambling on this show, and we, encourage you to do it and get involved. It's fun. It's legal. It's a great thing. But you need to know the risks and have a plan before you start gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. Have you missed it? UMBC bowed out of the postseason tournament they were going to play in the Basketball Classic. Towson is at Wake Forest tonight at 7 in the NIT. It's on ESPN+. Morgan State's at Youngstown State at 7 in that Basketball Classic event. That's also on ESPN+. The last 2 games in the first 4 are tonight. Bryant and Wright State at 6:40. Notre Dame and Rutgers at 9:10 on True TV. Women's first 4 gets underway tonight on ESPNU. NBC Sports Washington for Nuggets Wizards at 7. ESPN is Mavericks Nets at 7:30. Celtics Warriors at 10. TNT Bruins Wild at 7:30. Lightning Kraken at 10. Champions League this afternoon. Lille and Chelsea at 4 on Paramount Plus. Juventus and Villarreal at 4 as well. Tennis Channel for more coverage from out Indian Wells starting at 2. It's been a great tournament. Francis Tiafoe lost last night. That was a bummer. And TBS for AEW Dynamite tonight at 8. Some non-sports highlights.
ABC's Wednesday night lineup: the Goldbergs at 8, the Wonder Years at 8:30, the Connors at 9, Home Economics at 9:30, and the Chase at 10. Andrew Garfield is going to be on Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight.
All right.
On Netflix, Bad Vegan: Fame, Fraud, Fugitives, a Netflix documentary.
Okay.
Another Netflix documentary, Heist, spelled with a $, the great robbery of Brazil's central bank, and stuff and things.
All right, very good. I believe I spoke about this season of Mrs. Maisel, and I was like, I'm kind of waiting for some big things to happen, and like literally the next 3 episodes were just big things that were happening in the show. Look, the show is always excellent. It's always outstanding. It's an incredible show. But my complaint was that it felt like it was plotting, not plotting. The problem was the plot, that the plot was plotting this season, that it just wasn't really doing anything. It was comedy for comedy's sake, and that's fine because it's still very good. It's an unbelievably brilliant show with great performances, and it's so well written. But the plot also picked up too, and it's been incredibly compelling for the last few episodes.
That's on Thursdays, so isn't it?
Fridays for Mrs. Maisel. Fridays on Amazon. And there was something else that I was like, I finally watched the second episode of Winning Time. Still in. Just outstanding television program.
I actually like the second episode better than the first.
I don't know about better, but I mean, they're both really, it's just a really good show. It's a really, really good show. All right. Thanks today to Drew Forrester. Thanks also to Antoine White at Mount St. Mary's. Thanks to Charles Davis. Thanks to Mike Nolan. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the
Archives.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. On the program tomorrow, I believe Mike Florio is going to join us. He's doing the rounds this week as he's got a book that's out now. Jalen Gavidon is a kid who was born in Baltimore and went to high school at Glen Elg, and is now one of the top players on Yale's basketball roster. They play Friday in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We're going to catch up with him, and I feel like there was something else, but I don't remember what. Stan the Fan's stopping by tomorrow. He's going to stop by the studio as well tomorrow during the show. So that, and of course, stuff and things. We are working on some significant things, but we're working on them. We'll see what happens. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Glory Days Grill, Royal Farms, the Baltimore Police, Grade 8's Memorabilia, Live Casino and Hotel, Underdog Fantasy Football, Blue Line K9, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Paul. Follow him on Twitter, at Paul Valley III. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Wednesday evening. Go Towson, go Morgan, Duke sucks, Ohio State sucks too.